critical issue. Maintenance. Who will keep them running? Ghana knows this story too well. And so welcome public assets with drums and cameras, run them without a plan, and watch them die quietly in the yards. These buses cannot join that graveyard of good intentions. They need more than fuel. They need routine care, clear management, and handheld accountable. Not just for today, but for the years the nation expects them to serve. We've lived too long in a culture of reaction. Our transport wounds aren't sudden, are they? They are seasonal, structural, predictable as the Hamatan dust we're used to. What we need isn't another intervention pulled from crisis. We need coordination, government, transport unions, city authorities speaking one language. And what's that language? Definitely the language of Ghanaians, the language of consistency, fairness, sustainability. And so the arrival of these buses should have felt like a relief, a deep breath after holding it too long. Instead, they sit in silence. And silence right now is just another form of delay. Ghanaians are not asking for miracles. They're asking for movement, literally and figuratively. The buses are here. The people are waiting. It is time to act. We're back with the show.
For decades, we have helped businesses connect with their trade partners all over the globe. From Ghana to Burkina Faso, Côte d'Ivoire, Benin, Togo, Senegal, China, Morocco, France, Netherlands, and many other countries. We have made it possible to bring Ghana to the world. We have brought small and medium businesses closer to their customers across the regions in Ghana with our SME support facilities. We have brought relief and smiles to the faces of families with our employee personal loans. With our cutting-edge technology and digital support, we take the burden of complex thinking off you, making life simple. That is who we are, as close as a partner. Bank of Africa. We are indeed the African bank with the global reach.
Stay back and stay safe. The National Petroleum Authority is cautioning the public to desist from scooping or fetching fuel from overturned fuel tankers at accident scenes. Do not get closer to the scene in an attempt to take videos or pictures. Inhaling the petroleum product is detrimental to your health. Worst of all, petroleum products are volatile and highly flammable, and a small spark can trigger a catastrophic explosion, causing deaths and loss of property. Call the Ghana Fire Service or Ghana Police personnel to handle the scene, or reach the National Petroleum Authority's contact center on 0302 550 380. Your life is worth more than a gallon of fuel. This Save a Life campaign is from the National Petroleum Authority.
We heard about the sad event, the fire outbreak in your control room, and of course, Ghanaians have felt the impact of what happened. You worked hard, but it's not surprising because VRA has been one of the best organized state-owned enterprises. So I'm not surprised that you have the kind of quality of human resource to be able to ameliorate what happened. And so when I heard that, our engineers say they're going to find a way of bringing it back on, I wasn't surprised because I know VRA has some of the best personnel you can ever get anywhere in the world. So I want to thank you for the sacrifice. This is an act of God. I mean, who would have expected that the control room would develop this kind of fire? But of course, I hear it's been there since 1964. So they say in adversity is opportunity. Because now that this adversity has happened, it makes it, gives us an opportunity to replace with it a more modern control room that will serve this Akosombo plant and let it work for more generations yet unborn. And so I told the minister I was coming here to see the work you had done. He's briefed me. You have 4 of the turbines back on, and he says that you're working another miracle and that I'll get good news soon with the remaining 2 turbines also coming back on. So I want to thank you very much for what you've done, and we encourage you to continue to work. VRA will continue to be one of the foremost state-owned enterprises, and Gridco and VRA, both of you, you are among the foremost twins of the same mother, Gridco and VRA. And we know that you continue to work, and every support government can give you will continue to give you. Thank you.
Work is ongoing to fully restore power as government moves to stabilize the system and prevent future disruptions. Reporting for GBC.
And thank you so much for staying with us this Saturday morning, wherever you're watching us from. I am Altitude Side Sadik. I'm sitting in for Kojo Vanessa. Unfortunately, has lost his mother, and so our condolences, our hearts goes out to Kojo Vanessa this morning. The funeral will be happening as well, and so all of us definitely wishing you the best and strength in these trying times. I will let you know who my guests are, the big issues that we'll be looking at this morning as well. We'll look at the current Dumsor issues, because the question we're asking is Dumsor crisis, arson or accident, and probing the Akosombo fire outbreak. Touch on Broncoso Prestia Mines takeover. Adamus lease revoked as government reinforces the mining law. National airline revival, government opening the bid for a strategic partnership, among others this morning. At my table currently, on my immediate left, is Mr. Benjamin Nsia. He's Director of the Center for Environmental Management and Sustainable Energy. Good morning, sir.
Good morning.
Welcome to the table.
Thank you.
Great. As well at the table is the private legal practitioner who, is a friend of the table and makes a return, Austin Kwamabrako Powers, Esquire. Good morning, sir.
Good morning, Matiti. Hope you are doing well.
I'm well.
I like your outfit.
Thank you. We're mourning, so.
Usually in some jurisdictions, when you are mourning, you can wear white.
Oh, that's true. Celebrate life.
Yes, to celebrate life. But others have also choose to wear black to depict the mood. But whichever way, I think it synchronizes with everyone's culture.
For Muslims, even, we don't wear any color. Any color goes, actually.
That is it, exactly. So
our cultures are quite unique.
That's so.
And interesting. Thank you, gentlemen. And you just heard the president talking as well about this giving Ghana an opportunity to kind of re-audit what our energy system looks like and look at the work that ECG, VRA, NETCO, GRIDCO have been doing all this while with regards to the power. I'm just seeing the article where the Minister of Energy also talked about the power boost at Akosombo, says that everything is getting under control. They've given the timeline of the 3 months or so to stabilize power, looking at the changing of the various transformers that are either obsolete or old, and also working on the plants. The minority, however, calling for the head of the energy minister, says that if the Gridco boss goes, the energy minister must go as well. I mean, some portions of the minority. Let's take a listen, and then we'll pick my guest thoughts.
The government has a responsibility to protect our national maintenance. Even with the fire outbreak at Akosombo, the government has a responsibility to protect our national energy infrastructure backbone, the transmission network. However, lack of maintenance and safety protocols must be blamed on the government. We do not oppose investigation. Any inquiry into events at critical national infrastructure must be thorough and transparent. If negligence, dereliction of duty, or any other culpable conduct is found, those responsible must face the full force of the law. But investigation must precede conclusion, and the suspension of officials must not serve as a press release substitute for a genuine reckoning with the policy failures that has brought Ghana's energy sector to its knees. If any official is to face scrutiny, let that same scrutiny fall on the energy minister and on this president. For it is their ministry, their policy choices, and their disdain for the ESRP that created the conditions under which critical national infrastructure has been allowed to deteriorate. They did not leave behind a broken sector without solutions. The government of President Akufo-Addo and Vice President Bawumia did not leave behind a broken sector without solutions. They left behind the Energy Sector Recovery Program, which we call the ESRP, a comprehensive, internationally agreed framework designed to address the financial and operational vulnerabilities of Ghana's electricity sector. The ESRP had been negotiated with the IMF as a structural benchmark under Ghana's extended credit facility. It had specific timelines, specific targets, and specific commitments. It was not a wish list. It was a working plan, agreed with international partners and designed to be implemented with urgency. The IMF had projected Ghana's energy sector financial shortfall at $2.2 billion and had explicitly identified the ESRP as the mechanism for preventing supply disruptions. The government's own finance minister has acknowledged that cumulative sector shortfalls could exceed $9 billion by 2026 without immediate reforms.
And that's the Honorable Adumako Mensah speaking there, leading the minority park on the Dumso or not Dumso crisis after the fire gutted the Akosombo substation, and he's talking about the extended credit facility, the ESRP that the Akufo-Addo administration had with international partners, the strategies they put in place, and they're accusing this government of abandoning that, and that's what's plunging this country into the current power crisis that we see. And it goes, this Dumso, they say, goes beyond just the fire outbreak. Started about 4 months ago, is what they're saying. Let me begin with Governor Bracco Powers on this. What do you make of this whole power situation, the entire week plus?
Dizzy, I think it is important to, first of all, greet your viewers and those who are listening on radio.
Right.
But we must understand that Dumso was with us before the Akosombo Dam fire outbreak. And the conversation, in fact, has been muddied in confusion. Whilst the government is peddling the information that the Akosombo Dam fire outbreak, in fact, led to the Dumso that we experienced. In fact, we are still experiencing it because, I mean, before I even left home, I had Dumso visiting. So, but it is important. We just need to, situate the conversation within the right perspective.
Okay.
We were already experiencing repetitive power outages across some parts of this country. It wasn't new. But the Akosombo Dam fire outbreak increased or exacerbated the challenges or worsened the situation, because the shutting down of the dam led to Ghana losing almost close to over 1,000 megawatts of power from the national grid. And when you look at it, the Akosombo Dam generates 1,020 megawatts of power, which means that if we lose the Akosombo Dam, then it means that we are in trouble, because when you look at when you combine the weight or the power that the other plants that we have, that we operate, that government operates, generate power they generate, they cannot match what the Akosombo Dam is generating. So the first thing we must understand is that we were already experiencing Dumso before the Akosombo Dam fire outbreak. But the fire also worsened the situation, which is what Ghanaians must understand. And the government also must understand that the situation that we are experiencing currently, even though it appears to be better than some few days ago, because I understand now Akosombo Dam is upstream and they are generating right through they are now within their weight. Right. They are pulling their weight, if I may put it that way. So the government must stop telling Ghanaians that it was a fire outbreak that caused Dumso. But I mean that is not us being or opening up or engaging in a very honest conversation, because I think that is what politics should be all about. Ghanaians were already complaining about it. There had been cases where sellers, small business owners were complaining about the power outages they were experiencing in some parts in their localities. So we must understand we have a peculiar challenge. I understand they said they are changing some machines that help in generating. So let's be open. In fact, some years ago, when we were experiencing when we had similar fate, we were told it is doomsday, that they were putting enough to repair or to put the place in its better shape. But here we are.
So the problem is lack of communication to tell us if it is doomsday because they are fixing something broken.
Matiti, like they will not tell you because of politics. The government is afraid that the opposition will jump on it and make political capital out of it.
But nobody expects a system to run efficiently, perfect.
Exactly. That is why we want a very honest government. A government that will be open to the people, irrespective of the political gains that are at play. Because the opposition is willing, and you heard them, they are calling for the head of the minister. I mean, why would you call for the head of the minister? But will you blame them? When they were in government and we had similar issue, the NDC, which is now in power, was calling for the head of the minister, the then minister. So you see how politics is so funny in this country. Because we tend to politicize even critical national assets as electricity. In fact, it is surprising that, Matiti, you have money to buy prepaid, or you buy prepaid, you buy credit, yet you cannot even have a consistent light for just one day.
Keeps fluctuating.
That is dangerous. So at a point, I had to put off my light and even put off my appliances, because you don't know when they will come in. And the thing is that when the lights are on, before you say jack, they go off. And the government, not only this government, the previous government too, were not honest, because when we asked them, give us a timetable, because they were afraid that the opposition will jump on it and use us as a campaign message. They refused to give us, yet we're experiencing doing so. And sometimes, Matiti, the question is, what is doing so? Is it that you are kept in the dark for 10 years, that is doom so, or what is doom so? Doom so is simply that your lights are off and on. Doom and so. Lights are off and on. That is as simplistic as the situation.
There have been also calls or sentiments that they are not following, either governments do not follow each other's roadmap to resolving our energy crisis, whether it's investment enough in that sector, whether it is the program that one has started, like the ESRP that the minority is talking about. That these people say they are doing the ESLA to use the 1 CD levy to service the energy sector debt. Should make
the thing, one of our major problems, which you hinted at, has to do with our ability not to continue with projects started by or initiated by previous government. And it's simply because every government wants to start afresh. They want to be credited for something. And it's how funny our political system has been, because when the current government attempts to improve or complete a project initiated by the previous government, they will feel the previous government or the previous political party, which is now in opposition, will claim ownership of the property, but they've forgotten that they are using state resources and they are building it for Ghanaians and for the benefit of Ghanaians.
Right.
A while ago, we were talking about why is this government not prioritizing completing the Agenda 111 project initiated or started by the previous government? Because we were having to deal with no-bed syndrome. And it was disastrous for a country like this to be grappling with no-bed syndrome at a point recently we had to even launch the free primary health care. And we said that we are opening it up.
Earlier this week, a woman died in Kasua. There was no bed for her to deliver a baby.
That issue will forever be with Ghanaians until we learn to invest in infrastructure, one, the human resources, and also, like I always say, Motiti, we need also to take on the medical practitioners, the health professionals, for negligence, take on the hospitals. Because if you don't do that, they won't attend to their work with the level of seriousness that we need. But let's drive home. Motiti, the thing is, when you look at the capacity of Akosombo Dam, and which I stated earlier, if we don't diversify our energy mix, we'll still be where we are today. We'll be grappling with this situation. We
hear that our thermal is doing well. We are going into solar gradually.
Exactly. But ask yourself, I think the solar power plant we have is the Laura solar power plant. That's the only solar power plant we have. And I think that is not enough. And it's not a good statement to Ghanaians. I mean, we have a lot of sunshine. In fact, we don't buy it. We don't buy it. Sometimes even ordinary Ghanaians complain that the sun is too scorching or it's too burning. So we have a lot of sunshine. And if we are serious about development and we are serious about matching up with the population explode or with the rise in population, we will diversify our energy mix. We will site solar power plants across the various 16 regions. Then that is where we start the conversation. And you see, Matiti, this requires political will. It requires a political will. Because you see, the spending power has to come from government.
Right.
It doesn't come from anybody. If the government commits to this project, the government has to marshal the resources to spend in this area. And that is where the challenge is. Because now they are having to deal with other projects, and some are chasing or gunning after legacy projects. And because of that, they may not want to invest in the one or project that will stand the test of time, project that will benefit the ordinary people. They are looking at project intermittently that will show up their popularity in the country, and that will help them to gain political capital. So we need to diversify our energy mix. And it is important also to reiterate that we were already experiencing doomsday before the Akosombo Dam was gutted by fire. This conversation must be settled once and for all.
Absolutely. Thank you, Bracco Powers. We've been joined, let me just introduce to you the Honourable Member of Parliament for Yendi, the Honourable Fattah Abdullah Lassan.
Hey,
good morning.
Good morning.
It's Abdul Fattah Al-Hassan, it's not Abdul Fattah.
Fattah Abdullah Lassan, okay. It's the other way around.
It's not Fattah Abdullah Hassan,
okay.
It's Abdul Fattah
Al-Hassan. Okay, thank you for that correction, Honourable. You're welcome to the table.
Thank you, Matiti, and good morning to my colleagues. Good morning to everyone, especially to the good people of Yendi, and thanks for having me.
Right. Let me come to Mr. Nsia now, whilst the Honourable settles. So, do say see you, do so.
Thank you very much. This opportunity, I think, to commend the engineers who came to the task and then performed it quite well within the shortest possible time. I think that after God, the others we have to serve are the engineers, because without them we are not.
Is it the engineers who grab the pythons in the Kumasi? Or the
Any of them that make sure that within the shortest possible
revive
time,
the plant.
this particular challenge.
Okay.
We must commend them, including the service persons who also supported for us to fast track the solution. I think especially I saw some ladies, and also goes to confirm that this is what men can do. Ladies can also do.
Oh yes.
The engineering firm.
The one that President recommended for employment.
So we must commend all of us, the leadership that also came to task. We must commend. However, my challenge has to do with whether the new innovations, the strategy using resolving this particular challenge is sustainable. I think that there must be some form of communication to Ghanaians whether this is going to last, or maybe we may need to get a faster replacement until it burns out again and creates another problem for us in future. And that communication must come from the government. I think we should expect that in the shortest possible time, because it's rather also creating some kind of anxieties, because people may think that the technology may collapse soon, and then we go back to the issue of them. So now, in that, I must also now look at the issues as they are. I think what happened at Akosombo created or exposed the risks in the power system. I say exposed the risk because before the Akosombo, there were issues surrounding gas disruptions due to some heat burner management system at Twabo. There were issues of transformer upgrade, and for that matter creating a whole lot of intermittent outages, whether planned or unplanned outages because of these upgrades. So Akosombo came to exacerbate the issue and then exposed to us that even at that time, which my lawyer friend just spoke, our reserve margin was quite small. Either we're not having a reserve margin or reserve margin was quite small, because the reserve margin is supposed to be around 18%, right? Between 18 to 25%. So if you get Akosombo being knocked out, at its dependable operational availability should be around 960, because even though the capacity is 1020 or 1020, normally it doesn't operate at full capacity. So if its operational availability is around 960 or maybe almost 1,000, and it goes off and we had to shed load, it means that our reserve margin was not there. We had exhausted the reserve margin. To augment. Because the reserve margin, if you look at our, currently they are telling us installed capacity is around 5,850. So even if your installed capacity is 5,850 and your operational availability is around 5,400, even if you lose 1,000 because of the Pong and Akosombo issue using the same control room, if you lose 1,000, you still have 4,400 to serve your people, even at peak hours. So the load shedding wouldn't be much. But because we're having less reserve, it exposed the particular situation. And I think that the time has come for us to increase our reserve so that increase redundancy, and whenever there's this issue, at least others come to support the system for us to have stable and reliable power. Now, what caused this? I think we also need to ask ourselves. I think the major challenge in the power sector, aside planning over politicization, also has to do with lack of system audit, periodic system audit, right? Because if you heard the president, a control room that is over 60 years, how have we audited the system to check that some of these issues do not occur? And if it bent because of aging infrastructure, then what stopped us after auditing the system, putting in place modern infrastructure to resolve the issue, unless we wait for a crisis to occur before we now become reactive and say, oh, we are going to replace it and get modern. So in terms of auditing, we've not done well. And not only Akosombo, most of our system, we don't audit it. And that is why today we are even discussing upgradement of transformers. Now, planning, I always say that in the planning process, implementation is very critical. So if you plan, you go to ECG, you go to NETCO, you go to all the utility companies, especially and the regulators, PURC and Energy Commission, they have a lot of plans, integrated power system planning, integrate all these plans. But if you plan without implementation, then that's not planning. Because any effective planning must have implementation, right? After implementation, you even monitor to do evaluation to see whether what
you've planned and implemented is working as you want it to be. If there are corrective measures you put in place. But we have not planned well as a country. And because of that, we put out, it becomes part of our bureaucratic requirement to develop the plans. But after developing the plans, getting key resources, which is capital resources, human resources, to implement the plan also becomes a problem. So we realize that the plans are there, but we are not implementing them. And because we are not implementing them, that is why we are here. So I think that going forward, we need to take planning very seriously, especially effective implementation of our plans very seriously in the power system, so that we are not engaged in some of these issues again. Now, beyond that, there's another thing I think that politicians also do. It is good that every Ghanaian gets electricity. It's good that every community gets electricity. But the truth of the matter is that if you are extending electricity, it means that you are increasing the demand for electricity. There must be an infrastructure that supplies the generated electricity to the consumer. Now, our interest as Ghanaians, especially the interest of the politician, is that let's increase rural electrification. Let's every home get electricity so that we will say that we give them electricity. But putting the necessary infrastructure to transmit the electricity from the generator to the consumer, we don't care about that.
So is there a power plan that shows that this is top priority?
So so there is a plan, but because we poorly design the plan, implementation is also become a problem.
Okay.
Right? And most of the time, the politician sidesteps the plan to think of let's increase accessibility. So if you look at 2026 budget, for example, which Honorable is here, we've allocated almost 2 billion for rural electrification. We want to extend electricity everywhere, part of the country. But the question we ask ourselves is that if our transformers are becoming overloaded, if your transmission lines cannot supply the generated electricity, what do we need? Why should we even extend electricity to these areas? Right. Because you extend it to them, they become happy that you're giving them light. The moment it goes out, they'll come blaming you again. So you get it. So I think that...
And this government didn't have the benefit of knowing how much weight had been added to our power with the rural electrification.
Oh, they know.
When they took over from the Estwell government.
Oh, they
because
know.
You mentioned the audit.
They know. You see,
okay.
If you look at, and that is also a policy, if you look at our power system, our demand increased between 7 to 10% annually, right? That is the demand. Now, if demand is increasing between 7 to 10% annually, what you also need is that you need to also look at your generation, whether to increase it cumulatively or yearly. You need to, through other means, to get your 7 to 10% to meet your reserve margin, and also put up the necessary infrastructure to supply this. So they know the data, but because of poor implementation, which is also part of planning process, they don't care. They know that we have to give light to Sanarugu, we have to give light to Kukuo or whatever in Tamale. So let's just supply the light to them. Whether the infrastructure is necessary to carry the light, we don't care.
Right.
You get it.
Okay.
So now we are getting demand side issues where demand, because of urbanization in some part of the country, because of increasing accessibility to electricity, the demand for electricity now is outweighing the infrastructure that supplies the electricity. So it will cause the intermittent outage. And that is why today ECG is telling us that they are going to do infrastructure upgrade or transformer modernization or replacement based on aging and also obsolete infrastructure. So we need to prioritize the sector and plan. In planning too, we also need serious investment. So if you look at the PRC approval capex for ECG, it's supposed to be around 4 billion between this year and then 2028 or 2029 or 2030.
Right.
And if you look at the multi-year tariff review order, that is how much PRC approved for ECG. So when I also hear, and that is why I think that communication is also critical, and especially the political communication, when I hear that politicians say, oh, you are replacing transformers, so your lives will be stable, and I tell myself, which areas will be stable? Because the capex is going to take between now and about 2 years plus. So if you are communicating, you also must manage your communication in such a way that you give hopes to people, and if the hope doesn't come, it also becomes a problem on your part.
Which goes to say that it's not going to be immediate.
No, not at all.
Okay.
Not at all. It's going to take us 4 years to be able to replace some of these obsolete infrastructure or even modernize them, right? So if you are communicating, manage your words. Because my uncle Kabila always say that bulls are trapped by their horns and humans are trapped by their ways. You get it?
Yeah.
So let's manage our ways in giving assurance, because when you will give assurance, the same consumer that is happy today, the next moment they'll be against you. Absolutely. Right, that is another thing. Now the last part I must also add is that, you see, in all this, not that the consumer or the end user doesn't know that there is doom so. What the end user was complaining about is the timetable, right? Because the end user wanted to plan their lives well. So politicians must also know that regardless of the politics that may surround some of these things, when there's a shortfall, there's a deficit, communicate to Ghanaians. We have a deficit. And because of the deficit, these areas, especially during peak hours, in the evenings, may go off. So plan your life appropriately. But the challenge is that the consumer knows that there is doom so, or whatever you want to call it. Yet the politician is failing to communicate to the consumer that because of this particular deficit, you are going to sleep in darkness. So it makes the consumer worry, right, in terms of planning. Yes, there are certain times they tell us, they give us a plan, but sometimes the plan even comes short before time. So they tell you that, instead of telling us a day before, maybe 2 hours to the time, they tell you that you are likely going to be in Dumso. And that also gives us problem in terms of planning, because the consumer may also think of getting alternative source of power at the household level, or may begin to off some of his gadgets so that they don't blow up due to this intermittent outage. So communication was very critical in this particular time. I think that politicians failed in communicating to us.
Okay.
Now lastly, I think the major problem also in the power sector has to do with a crisis that occurred in 2016 that we need to address. You know, the minority, for example, mentioned the what we call Energy Sector Recovery Program report.
Right.
If you take the Energy Sector Recovery Program report, it states about 6 factors or 6 reasons why we are here.
Okay.
So the first is excess supply or excess capacity, as they'll call it. Now, excess capacity as at 2016 was 60%. It peaked at 90%. So if your reserve margin is 18 and your excess is 90%, over 90% as at 2017, it means that you were paying for power you didn't want to use. So that money, and you know, money is scarce, it's a resource, it's very scarce. So any capital that would have been used to modernize infrastructure was used in paying
for power
obligations
that was lying there,
idle,
not being used. Okay.
So that created a major problem. Now, beyond the excess capacity or supply, there was also an issue stated in the recovery program report, which we call excess supply of gas. So you overcommitted yourself in certain obligations in terms of supply. You also overcommitted yourself in certain obligations in terms of gas supply. So you told the gas supply, as we speak even today, we are still owing Talon about $100 million due to some of these arrangements. So you told them that supply more, we will pay. They supplied because if take or pay. They wanted to supply, you were not able to take it. But because you agreed with them that they should supply, you pay, you needed to pay. So we're paying that. So any capital that would have been used to inject in our power system, we're using to defray. And these are huge monies, sometimes $600 million, $500 million a year for gas supply contract. Now, beyond that, the third one also has to do with what we call system losses, right? And system losses are mostly issues of the collectors. Because if you look at transmission losses, currently they are quite low. They are within PURC benchmark of maybe 4%, right? But what we call the system losses by the utility companies are always beyond the PURC benchmark. So the PURC benchmark is 21%. Today they are doing 24%, but before they used to do 30%. And system losses alone, the system losses in general were also costing us about $600 million. So uncollected revenue, right? Illegal connections that sometimes there's that connivance and collaboration between ECG workers and consumers.
Absolutely.
Or we're all costing us $600 million. So that was the third problem. Now we come to the fourth problem, macroeconomic indices. Will be exchange rate factors were also costing us. Government itself not paying electricity as a fee factor because government consumes a lot, state institutions consume, but they don't pay. And these were established in the report, right? So some of these were the reasons why we could not invest much in the power system. And until we correct these things, we may not be able to continuously invest in the power system.
And for you, because you mentioned excess, regardless of the excess, was it still around the same time that we had to do a doom CC?
So one good thing is that there's the past government, because of the excess, could not also initiate a lot of additional capacities. Because if you have excess, you don't add more. So they also maintain, I think as of 2024, the excess was around 39%. So in 2025, the maximum excess was around 28%, and the minimum was 12%, because sometimes there are some of the machinery that were not also working. But as we speak, because Energy Commission has not published the data, and we are getting conflicting data from the minority and the majority, still we don't even know what our excess capacity are. But based on what happened at Akosombo, I think that our excess capacity has been exhausted. And that is why we have a smaller reserve margin, which caused this particular problem. Now, my brother also mentioned, lawyer mentioned our energy mix. Yeah, it's true. I think solar is quite doing well now. We have about 200 megawatts of installed solar. We have a solar, we is doing solar, VRA wants to do solar. VRA even has some solar plants in Kaliu, and then Navrango. About 2 megawatts of solar installed. We is doing quite well, especially the floating solar of about 150 megawatts, and others are also adding up with solar. So solar, we are quite doing well. But I have always said that as a country, it is not only making power available and making power reliable. I think politicians are here, my two brothers who are politicians. We must also begin to think of making power affordable. Because that is enshrined in the Sustainable Development Goal 7.
Right.
Now, how do we make power available? Because we have a natural resource, which is natural gas, we assume that we want to use natural gas to power our electricity. Unfortunately for us, we have overinflated the cost of natural gas in this country. Natural gas, Nigeria, the weighted average cost of gas in Nigeria is around $3 per British thermal unit. We are doing $8 per British thermal unit. So if natural gas, because we think it's our resource, is being inflated, let's look at an alternative. I think that if you look at our transition framework, we are supposed to have nuclear. Nuclear is almost the same in terms of generation cost like water or hydro. You get it? Today, as we speak, Akosombo generation cost is around 4 cents per kilowatt hour, maybe 5 cents per kilowatt hour. Nuclear is also almost the same as maybe 4 or 5 cents per kilowatt hour, depending on the technology you adopt. But thermal today is between 8 to 10 cents per kilowatt hour in terms of the generation cost. So if thermal is expensive, let's look nuclear. Unfortunately, I think the previous government passed the Nuclear Cooperation Act. They call it Ghana Nuclear Power Corporation. This current government came, I was part of a team that started reviewing the bill because they wanted to amend the act. We went to MPA thinking that under certificate of agency, we may even pass this bill into an act so that the necessary resources needed to begin getting vendors to start the nuclear process. Because if you look at transition framework, we are saying that by 2030, we are supposed to have nuclear, right? As we speak, we are not going nuclear.
4 years.
So I think that politicians must also begin to look thermal. Yes, we have the natural gas resource, but let's begin to look beyond thermal, because thermal is becoming very expensive. And if thermal is expensive, most people will do illegal connection.
Yeah.
And today, people want to do illegal connection because of the price of electricity. So let's get other sources of electricity that is quite cheaper. And nuclear for us is cheaper. We started nuclear technology, nuclear education since Nkrumah's time. Right, with small reactors, and today there's a lot of innovations that even at DBC premises we can even put nuclear and it's safe. You get it? So I think that since we want to build 1,200, which was established in the 2026 budget, 1,200 megawatts of thermal plants, we must also begin to look at nuclear, because nuclear will make our electricity stable, because it becomes a new base load, right? Because Akosombo now we are told is a balanced load. But nuclear will become a new base load, very affordable, very reliable, and that will ensure that our industries will expand and expand well.
Absolutely.
And I think let's look at that, aside putting all the proper planning, prioritizing the sector and ensuring that we put the necessary infrastructure. that will ensure that we have reliable and sustainable supply of power to firms and households.
Thank you, Mr. Nsia. Let me welcome to the table lawyer Ishaq Ibrahim. He's a member of the MPP's communications team. Good morning.
Thank you. Good morning to you. Good morning to the two experts. Especially good morning to my good friend Abdul Fattah Al-Hassan, who is currently occupying the Yendi seat, the borough seat from the MPP. And I would just urge our people to be united. Usually when we are united, Yendi is a down deal. So please sit down well.
You are campaigning very anyway.
And then,
greetings,
yes, and allow me the opportunity to say Happy Workers' Day, May Day to the good people of Ghana, and a goodwill message from our flag bearer, Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia. Inshallah, the president from 2028, and then he feel your plight, and then he's working hard behind the scene. When we take power, we are there to be there with you. We feel your pain, and then we'll all be in it together.
Right.
Yes.
Thank you. I would give you your chance to tell us how you would alleviate the plight of Ghanaians on the energy issues. And let me go to Lawyer Al-Hassan here. Lawyer, a lot has been said from the expert, Mr. Nsia, and Lawyer Rako Powers, on our energy needs versus what your government has promised and what it is delivering. Clearly, it looks like we do not have an audit of our energy needs, and we're putting media money where it is not needed. We're not expanding what we should rightfully expand, and we're taking unawares by this fire, which is said to have exposed the deeper cracks already in the system.
Yes, Matthew, thanks so much, and I think I followed the discussions, and clearly, we should not deceive ourselves. We do have serious challenges in that sector. I think one key challenge that came up from the submission by Doc is the fact that the losses are just becoming uncontrollable. But I'm happy that at least we are beginning to have firm grip of the situation, especially with what we are now, the declarations under the cash waterfall mechanism system. You know, it's been there for a while, but it was kind of being abused. It wasn't being strictly followed. I remember when it was first introduced, I think the cabinet gave approval of it in 2017. It never came into operation until 2019, 2020 thereabout. And if you look at what we're getting from it, emergency, you see, even with the nuclear angle that Doc is talking about, yes, it's fine. We are looking at a way of expanding our energy mix, and I'm happy because when Council was talking, I think he said we didn't have solar. We made reference to only one.
Yeah, I said we have, yes.
But I'm happy that Doc has added
the Kalium.
Yes, they are building. Yes.
We has 400 megawatt of hydro and then 50 solar.
Okay.
You understand? And so and then VRA2 is doing solar, and there are some small other one. I think there's some Chinese company that is also doing solar. Just that they are just insignificant. And even wind, I'm told that Anloga, or where in the Volta region, has the greatest
wind power.
But though we have not explored it, I think it's also one of the things we are considering. I think we have to expand the mix to ensure that when one is failing, because not until 2007, I think we had drought in 1997, 1998 first, where Akosombo gave us signs of some of these things. And then we experienced the worst again under Kufuor 2007, 2008, thereabout. All those things should tell us that we cannot depend on nature solely. You understand? And so hydro began to expose us. And that was why when we had the crisis in 2016, 2015, 2012 to 2015, thereabout, the government at the time, JM, again, looked at thermal to be the way out, because that is within your control. But thermal is very expensive, very, very expensive, especially because you need to always import fuel and then gas to power them, and the issue of monies to pay them is always coming up every now and then. But you see, if you when was the last time you heard IPPs seriously complaining? In fact, for the whole of 2025, I can tell you that IPPs did not complain that much, because if you look at what the declarations we had in respect of the cash waterfall mechanism, and what is the cash waterfall mechanism? You see, it is more like a payment discipline tool It is not anything. It is saying that, okay, ECG, what ECG used to do was that, even though ECG was seen to be the weakest link in the whole distribution or the energy distance, because you were those who were giving us the losses. Were not, you would collect power, you would not be able to generate enough revenue to pay. So we're always under recovery in terms of the cost in procuring the power. Now, what they used to do was that, so when they receive the money, when they collect the money from customers, even though they are the most inefficient in the whole chain, they will say that, okay, we've collected this much, say 100 million. But IPPs are there, you understand? Even SOEs are there. And even regulators, and if you like, you talk about even the taxes and all those things. But what ECG used to do was that they would say that, okay, we've collected 100 million, but we need 70 million out of it to cater for our operations, regardless of what was happening. Remember, the 100 million you are collecting, people have used resources to give you the power. People have gone to procure gas to power the thermal plants. People have gone to procure oil, fuel, to power the thermal plants. Hydro is working, Akosombo, you understand? VRA and all those things are there. Now you are saying that because you have the opportunity to collect, you are the only one collecting the money from you and Netco. And Greco too is there. Now you will say that out of the 100 million, you take 70 million for yourself. The 30 million should be used to take care of the others, whether it satisfies them or not. Meanwhile, you are even the major reason why we are not getting 200 million and we are getting 100 million. But you have the opportunity to collect the money from the people. We don't have the opportunity. So the government took the decision and said that, no, you cannot be the one causing us all this loss. Yet when the money comes, you want to even eat first. And eat to your satisfaction. In fact, they will take the full cost that they have before they even leave the rest for the others to share.
And this has always been the system?
This was the system.
Okay.
This was the system before the introduction of the cash waterfall mechanism. And what is it about? It's just to say that let's discipline ourselves in terms of this payment mechanism. We all know that if IPPs don't generate the power, you ECG, you are nowhere. Because someone has to generate for you to distribute. You are only into distribution.
Right.
So why don't you prioritize those who generate?
Right.
You understand? So in doing that, government says, so when you collect 100 million, you don't have the discretion to now tell us how we'll spend the 100 million. What we're going to do is that let's design a formula and say that let's structure all those who matter in terms of sharing the 100 million. You understand? We have the IPPs. You understand? We have the SOEs. We have even taxes and levies. We have all those who come together to benefit from it. So who are the priority? Government will say that, okay, based on the invoices you bring to the table, in fact, ECG should be the list. You should just wait because the people have to generate for you to do it. So they will now say that these IPPs should bring in their invoices. And I think they also use the formula of senior, they brought in the issue of senior debt. So they look at all the debt that had been accumulated over the years. We need to clear these legacy debts. So when we collect this 100 million, the IPP should bring their invoices. You understand? Let's see, based on the invoice, because the invoices, based on your capacity, your install capacity, it will tell how much invoice you bring. Because some are bringing, these people, I think Gensa or what, they are very, and then Trojan Energy have, I think, 40 or something megawatt. They very, very minimal. So while some are doing over 400 and 500 megawatt. So we obviously cannot pay them all the same. But government says that let's prioritize those who generate it. So that when the money comes, the 100 million comes, we have to now prioritize. So they have level A, level B payment. Level A's are always those who generate. You understand? And then so they will look at the IPP. So they say that give them their monies. So if they are able to, if out of 100 million, whatever invoices they bring for that period, that month, it comes down to 70 million, that is what they have to take. Now the 30 million, take it, you ECG, VRA, Gridco, you understand? All those other things. You know, take the 30 million and see how you can share it among yourself based on some defined formula. And there was a committee put in place. And that has helped the system. So now ECG now knows that if it doesn't collect much, it will also get much. But in those times, whether they collected much or not, they will always have their share taken out before the rest was shared to others. You understand? And as a result of this, just last year alone, 2015, compared to 2014, we had 6 billion, which was what was shared, which was what was declared under the cash waterfall mechanism. But this government came and then made it more stricter. You understand?
Okay.
And today we can say that as a 2025 era, we declared the declaration was 15 billion Ghana cedis, as opposed to 6 billion. So in 2025, this government, as a result of the prudence nature of the way it managed the cash water flow mechanism, we declared 15 billion compared to 6 billion that we got in it. So as a result of that, almost all the IPPs were now getting higher allocations in 2015. That is how come you don't see them making noise. You don't see them complaining. Some were getting as much as 400 million, 500 million. You understand? Okay. US dollars in terms of what was due then.
Right.
So now today, at least that bit of it is being taken care of. Even though we still have losses. ECG, as we speak, it's still giving us a lot of losses. And we have and NETCO.
Right.
But I was also not comfortable when Doc says two things. One, he said that politicians, we don't communicate when these outages happen. Doc, you are in the sector. You may want to dress it anyhow, but you know the politicians are not those to communicate.
But there's a minister overseeing a sector.
The sector has agencies. These agencies have their responsibilities. If this is happening, the agency that has that responsibility has to communicate.
And if they are not communicating, who should be held
So
responsible?
because they are under a minister. That is the problem we do here.
Even they are under a minister.
To come out to speak.
Yes.
No, you see, and that is where we are getting it wrong. You see, let's begin to hold institutions responsible. Let's not always leave the institutions, bypass the institutions, and go and hold politicians responsible. You see, I can say that and get away with it. My brother can say that and get away with it. The ordinary person can say that, but Doc, you are in the sector. You should tell us whose responsibility is this to do the communication. If they are not doing the communication, then and there's a reason we believe this is why they are not doing the communication, then we can now go beyond them and say that this is what we feel is the reason why ECG, which is supposed to do the communication, because you are serving the customers.
Yes, but
you
why
can tell
when expecting communication from you.
No,
because
did you say because of the way Ghana here, we look at politicians to be the be-all and all everything.
Because
it is bad.
Because you've said things in the past that makes you look like that. Or
can you manage the that will come up from the
No, I'm sorry. So you see, you and I, let's let them know that it is their duty. You see, the moment you take them off the picture, it means that they see that they don't have a role to play.
Who
You've never brought them into the picture when you're in opposition.
Who announced the shake-up in
Exactly.
Who announced the shake-up?
So now they can't do their job because they are that's the problem we have here.
So it ought to have.
I remember in when Osofo was approached on this timetable issue during the maybe we can call it the Doom CSA era. When he was asked why there was no timetable, he said that it was the and I was surprised that it's only Napo who could give us the timetable because Napo has picture over the whole sector. But me, if you ask me, I feel that let's hold institutions, technocrats responsible. Because you are in power now, would you have thought that way if you were not in power? That you're not holding the minister. It has to do with who is in power. I'm not saying this. No, because I'm not saying this because I am the one is my party that's in power. But I just feel that structurally, it's like the structurally, of this let's say it right, whether it is being done right or not. If you ask genuinely, assuming we didn't have this situation surrounding the energy sector happening, and you ask Doc, assuming we have doomsday or power outage, which institution or who was supposed to communicate that to the consumers? That's why the Gridco boss is gone. If you took out everything surrounding the energy, Doc in his own professional piece of advice will tell you that ECG or if you like NETCO should do the communication. But
it depends on
the level of the challenge. So the challenge is from the generation.
So if it is generation, exactly.
So unfortunately for us, the politicians suspended the group.
So who should speak on their behalf?
I don't know.
I agree in substance with what Honorable is saying because I've for a while been saying that we should be able to allow the technocrats to do the talking.
So that the politicians will take the backstage. But you see, Doc said something. The thing is that will the politician be comfortable with the truth? Absolutely. That will come out from the technocrats. We're not ready for the uncomfortable truth. Yeah. So, Honorable, over to you.
Honorable, and I want to ask if there's a committee that's probing this and then the Gridco boss being gone. Is there a semblance of arson at the fire?
For me, at this level,
it's not disclosed.
Not disclosed. I don't even have the information.
No, I'm sure that they are saying.
Yeah. So because it is the more reason why that the committee is in place. Like Doc said, we had challenges, but at least they were manageable. Yeah, we saw a number of areas experiencing power outages at least once in a while, but it wasn't as acute as we experienced when the.
So nobody intentionally bends down the plan.
How can I say that, my sister?
Does the
But
place
I've told you
look
that I cannot speak to that
susceptible?
subject. Let's wait for the committee to finish its work. Even if you ask the minister today, he will tell you that is why the committee has been formed. And we can, because once he says something, he's even preempting the outcome of the committee, especially being the minister of the sector.
Okay.
And as for me too, I can only say that we will wait till the outcome of the report of the committee.
Don't you agree that the Gridco boss could have been at post whilst the committee is probing, because you need him to assist with the investigation? Why did he have to
I thought
go?
rather even the best way is to have him off.
He can still be invited.
Yeah.
Okay.
No, it's because because once he's the boss,
Okay.
He was.
people. So no, I'm saying once he's still the boss.
He's been asked to step aside, and depending on what the investigations reveal, will he be
Yes, but you see,
or
I think it's a normal thing. We've seen that where when you suspect that the head has a hand in this, the best approach, if you want true outcome, is to get him off so that people will feel free, people will feel open enough, and you can even have access to some pieces of information. Once he's there, trust me. A lot of things you can have access to it. So I think it's just in line with best practice to have him go off a while this investigation is. Once the investigation is concluded and he's found not to be culpable, he'll be brought back.
And I'm going to ask, do we often see people being brought back in this country?
I think don't believe
it. Don't believe it.
The gentleman is almost.
Understand, he has been giving
an extension.
An extension.
So I think he will not.
He will be back.
He will not return.
He will be back. But he will be back.
Yeah.
That was why I was careful in saying he was. You know what Honorable said he is, and I said no, he was, because we know this is a never coming back affair.
Never coming back. And also, with the nature of where the substation was that got burnt, or the plants, is it susceptible to being burnt? I mean, this is power, electricity, fire, and.
I think burning could be caused by a lot of factors. Even rodents can cause.
Yeah, they go.
But rodents.
No, it could be very. They can bite. They can bite into.
They expose it.
And then cause fires. So I think that the system is quite overused.
Yeah.
But for a person to intentionally set fire to that, anyone who do that, I don't think it is quite abnormal.
Maybe negligence could
negligence due to lack of periodic system audit constant. But for someone to set fire,
and I ask myself, are these systems not under any insurance, any form of?
I also asked that question, but we are yet to get the answer after the investigation. It's very critical that we know whether our systems are insured. All right. If they are not, then Ajenim Buati and others should start going after them. They should jump into it, because we must ensure these systems. And you said something that we are out to conclude on. So you said the man, the Gridco boss, could have been suspended because he suspected. Or I think you use a word that.
No, I put the general decision that if you are the head of the institution
and you are suspected to be involved,
and there's that suspicion that you have
a hand in it, so so it's general. You don't suspect.
Yes.
So I think that in crisis management, the decision was very hasty. Right? It was very hasty. It was very rushed. All right, because whatever you communicated, there is that perception that the man has a hand in whatever happened.
By asking him to step aside in the first place.
It was very rushed. And even listening to all the conversation, I think the issue happened at Akosombo, VRA, Gridco control room.
Right.
So why only
the Gridco boss?
Response to this is he sitting at where he is? The minister is privy to some pieces of information that we don't know. For all you know,
that's an executive excuse. Explain it.
For all you know,
explain it to the good people of Ghana when you are suspending him. I mean, this is.
No, he has lies to. No.
Oh, okay.
You see,
we don't trust the minister. Let him explain.
For all you know, he asked certain questions and he got certain responses, which responses may not be public. Something that could easily be shared with public. You understand? So there are some information some piece of information that he will keep to himself and act based on that. And so to the extent that you are limited and how much information you had as regards to that incident, we cannot jump into saying that it was rushed.
But I can also create my own suspicions. And
yes, so you can do
my perception is that, based on the release, my perception is that the man, Mr. Engineer Uwa, is suspected to have a foul play in this whole agenda.
I need to
go. Before you go, I'm not going. Dog was allowed to say.
I need lawyers.
You know what Doc was saying when the engineer was suspended. In fact, there were some leading government officials who said, "Here's our ruling. The system will be fixed." In fact, what are you trying to communicate? So, it fits into the broader suspicion that Doc is saying, that people feel that the man may have been or may be behind what we experienced. But I think government could have handled this in a more nuanced and better way.
Okay, thank you, Michael Powers.
Yes. I've listened to all the speakers. I think I especially listened to him first when he gave his submissions. He's more or less able to tell us. I mean, you were able to paint the picture as to why we're in this current situation. And I think you emphasized the fact that we're actually in Dumso before this so-called fire incident happens. And I think I've listened to him as well. Well, I listened to him. I mean, I was listening to him on radio. Oh, I did. I've always listened to it.
He said like we're not in Dumso.
Okay. Well, he can say whatever he wants to say. He wants to believe it. But the point I'm trying to make, and the other speaker too painted a similar picture. I think you were more expert-like in the way you're analyzing the combination of the various grades. Yes. And then I've listened to my very good friend who is in our bureau seat as well. And you could see that he was struggling to really explain. In fact, he abandoned the reason why we are in Dumso and went to...
You were supposed to allow me to flow to them.
No, you did. You did. You overflowed.
Look, when Doc was submitting,
he overflowed.
Spoke throughout his time.
Yes.
When Council was submitting. But when I came, you brought them in.
When he's done, you overflowed.
He's saying that I couldn't.
I'll give you a minute.
You overflowed. You overflowed. So he left the reason why we are in this current crisis to go and explain historical stuff, the PPI, the PI, just to confuse the good people of Ghana. We are not going to allow that to happen. Yes, the IPP, whatever. We want to know why we are in darkness, why the lies cannot be kept on. That's what Ghanaians want to know. Not whatever combination you want to do to confuse them. But for me, ultimately, we are in darkness because the NDC government has scammed Ghanaians. In fact, this is a scam government. When they were in opposition, they painted a picture that it was Nana Akosombo and his surrogate was the main reason why we're having certain problems. And as you remember, I don't really know the meaning of the Dumso Assisi, but I remember that the energy minister emphasizing it that it wasn't the Dumso as we know during Muhammad time, but it was a replacement of transformers. So I suppose the Dumso Assisi refers to that particular occasion. And when that happened, the current energy minister, who was more or less their spokesperson or shadow minister for energy, did not put the blame on the people you say we are supposed to blame. He put it squarely on the MPP government. And to push Napo to publish a timetable, he was there on Good Morning Ghana. He did it, you were there. Tell him that he should blame the technocrats. Why didn't you say so? It's now convenient when you are a government to push the blame elsewhere. He own the blame squarely on the head and deal with it. This was what you suggested. In fact, he explained it. It didn't last. He said that we're changing transformers. You said that was never the case, to the extent that he has to tell a journalist that if you really believe it's Dumso, I tell you it is not. If you believe that, then go and bring a timetable for me. Out of frustration. And you built on that frustration and push and said he should take it squarely. So for me, the humble thing for you to do is to take it squarely on and really explain to Ghanaians. I remember he was saying that sometimes it's lack of honesty. You don't really explain it. And the moment the fire incident happened, you jumped on it as if it wasn't happening. For me, it doesn't surprise me because during the first time of John Mahama, the name Dumso entered into the Oxford Dictionary. It was boiled down to pure incompetency.
In 2007, 2008, you didn't experience.
I did.
So why are you saying?
What do you mean?
You mean during John Mahama time, I didn't experience it.
2007, 2008.
It was the replacement of the transformer and it didn't last.
Hey,
it didn't last.
2007, 2008.
Listen. No, but Kufuor inherited the problem.
From whom? Kufuor was in power from 2001 all the way to 2007.
You have forgotten that the previous speaker said we have always do extension of this electricity or giving more new communities, but we never plan long time. You often said that Rollins should be credited for extending electricity to most parts of the northern Ghana. And the question was, did he put additional power in place when he was doing that? And the answer is no. Do you understand that? You cannot eat your cake and have it. For me, this current power outage is so. They don't want to explain it. They have refused to explain it. In fact, where I live, it's as if they have given the switch to a madman. As the previous speaker said, it comes on, it goes off, it comes on, it goes off. And the problem is, between 9 p.m. and 5 a.m., are you replacing transformers?
Well, they said it's a 24-hour economy. Honorable, tell us.
What 24-hour economy? You cannot even keep power on. How do you talk about building 24-hour economy when you cannot even build power on? The industries and co, are they going to be using lantern to power the 24 hours economy? You cannot even do that. So, and not even that. The experts talk about the access to cheap electricity. It's as if they have engaged in theft of electricity. In fact, when you even buy your credit, a lot of people have complained. I myself experienced it. You buy credit on these prepaid meters. That's why the light is off. It's as if your credit is equally running when the power is even off. People who used to spend 200 are now spending 900. No one can explain that. You are engaging in power theft. Instead of you saying individual, in fact, if you don't resolve that particular issue, a lot of people are going to engage in power theft because the government itself is stealing credit from people. Because what explains why people prepay meters do not last? And yet, it doesn't bear out. So for me, you have to explain it better. I am not an expert. I don't really know why the power is going off frequently. You insist it's transformers. Perhaps you need to give us video footage of where you are changing these transformers, every area, so that we know this information. Because you said transformers, there are doubts as to whether this is really transformers issue. Because we don't know. Most people living in various areas, they don't have the evidence of you changing transformers. And you give a general picture of transformers. 4 days ago, Northeast region, Upper East region, Upper West region, they were in total darkness for a very long period. Are you changing transformers throughout the whole 3 northern regions there?
They make the point also that you procure transformers that you did not install.
Oh, we were replacing them. Rome wasn't built in a day. That was why in the time we were replacing them. They are meant to do it in a way that doesn't cause large-scale disruption. But they claim they are doing large-scale implementation. That is why what is happening. You don't do, you do it in a reasonable way. Perhaps that was why the complaint is not as if it is today. Today is widespread everywhere. For me, I don't even believe the transformer. But these people cannot be honest with Ghanaians.
Okay.
Just as they lied into power, they think they can lie to govern. And that is where they are. Yes, they lie their way to power.
The other leg of it is, Doctor explained that infrastructure investments for a long term, aside from Honorable saying the IPPs are silent, you're talking about what you've done, the transformers you procured. You're talking about diversifying the energy needs.
I agree with you.
Your government did substantially invest, aside from the excess capacity that you said you handed over, will we be here?
I thought you've just said we procure large-scale investment of this transformers. That is good. No, I just told you Rome wasn't built in a day. Procuring it and receiving it is huge. I mean, this is a huge capital expenditure that we have undertaken. If we are beginning to do that, you cannot then turn accuser of not investing. We have done the investment by procuring the transformers. And as Nepal said that time, some of the transformers were dating back 1960s, 1970s and 80s. So at least that was an attempt to do it.
There was nuclear, there was wind energy.
Look, if you look at
solar system.
Yes, if you look at our 2024 manifesto, I mean, you cannot accuse her of not having vision for the future. In fact, we put on over there, especially the what they call it, the solar system. I don't remember the megawatts that we promised, but the expert that time said 2,000.
That if they win power, they'll do 2,000.
The expert said this was actually, I mean, it was transformative mission that we were going to do. Yes, those areas have always baffled me, because if you look at the what they call it, the sunshine as a natural resources available, which is more or less more than renewable. And if you look at elsewhere, I'm quite familiar with the British system a bit. Even though they don't have in summer, they have, I mean, about 3-4 months of sunlight. Okay. And winter is largely not even there. And yet they are promoting this system, of which if you even have a house you generate more than you need, you can feed it to the national grid and earn credit for that. And I understood China is doing high scale of those particular ones. So it has always baffled me why in Africa we are not able to do those things. And I understood 20 years ago the cost of solar panels and other equipment have even gone down to almost 90% down, to the extent that the European Union is even blocking Chinese products from entering into their market. Why can't we partner with people who have got this oversupply to bring them here? It has always baffled me. But it doesn't surprise me, because I've got a farm, and recently last year I was bringing solar panels. If I tell you how much the custom officers at the airport was asking me to pay, it's as if this one, we don't even care. So if we are struggling power-wise, somebody is bringing a solar panel, and someone is asking to pay more than the cost of buying the product. What are you telling me? Tell me that as a nation, we don't even get our priority right. I've traveled from Zibila side to all the way to Putinga, to Burkina Faso, to Ouagadougou. If you go and see solar farm Burkina Faso people are putting on, I just show you, in fact, except the Netherlands, I've never seen a solar farm like that. So it tells us that people in the sub-region are also thinking about it. And I also understand the nuclear. I've always had problem with nuclear because of our lack of culture of maintenance. But the experts largely claim that nuclear is safe. Okay. But if you hear the Fukushima nuclear plant, the Ukraine nuclear accident, of which Japan have to evacuate everybody there, and yet they have a culture of maintenance. If the expert tells me nuclear is largely safe, I always take it with a pinch of salt. But then
your government took it with a pinch of salt.
No. I said personally, I have always. Okay. But the expert convinced me that it's very safe. Because if you look at the United States, for instance, most of the corporations, like Microsoft, these people, because of how they consume, the data consume electricity, and most of them are beginning to have mini nuclear plants, so that they don't even rely on the government. You see that? So power, I'm not an expert in power, but what I know is that I know competency and incompetency. For me, my best judge is, are you able to keep the lights on? That's how I judge whether is a power affordable. Okay. And if you measure it with our government, with that of the NDC government, is very clear.
In the 8 years of your government?
Yes, it's very clear. In fact, they are just 2 years now, and we have already seen the lights going off. We have seen large scale of theft by government on electricity users, because the prepaid meters people will tell you, they have not been able to explain it. Apparently, they have set up a committee. A solution to every problem they have. If you are stealing somebody's power, why do you need to set up a committee to do that? If it is being programmed, reverse the program. But you set up a committee, the committee will take 3 years to investigate. By that time, we are going for election. What are you doing?
Is this new to you? I mean, you're a lawyer. When you know that committees have been like this in this country.
No, as for them, they are quite prolific. They have kept setting up committees. Even to direct our nation, they have to call people in the name of national dialogue as to what they need to do. And yet, when you are in position, we say you are government in waiting. This incompetent team, in fact, they have outlived their honeymoon. Okay. But I'm not sure why we are still very patient with these people. They have nothing in stock. Do we have to wait in 3 years before?
Now, your administration piloted the Energy Sector Recovery Program. Now you're saying that they are not following the roadmap. they brought the 1 Ghana cedi on fuel products to be able to reduce the debt in that sector. Which
is the 1 cedi still there?
It's there. Honorable. Has it been scrapped?
It's on and off. For why I hear in the news, I don't even know whenever it's on. Usually,
so what of the energy sector recovery program?
You can give whatever excuse
you want to following?
So for me, with the 1 cedi levy, I understand. I think 2 times you've suspended it. I don't know whether it is reinstated. I don't really know.
No, we only suspended when we had some crisis came.
That was
before even the implementation.
So even now we don't have the 1 Ghana cedi as 1 Ghana cedi. So Honorable is in Parliament. You see, we had what you call the original Act is 899.
I'll give you
Energy Sector Levy Act 899. So in 2025, we amended it twice, 1135. So it was the 1135 that was introducing the 1 Ghana cedi. But later the price was quite fluctuating, so people agitated and government suspended it, and now brought 1141. So the 1141 now accumulates other levies. So we now have 1 Ghana is 95 pesos per litre on petrol and 1 Ghana is 93 pesos per litre on diesel.
Another scam.
So that's like almost 2 cedis.
Another scam. So they tell the people it's 1 cedi. Then look at how they. Listen, he said we left a legacy debt and that they are dealing with it. I've always said the NDC government, they are like a typical student. When they present themselves for assessment and the outcome come, if the results, if one subject is A, they say they've gotten A. But if the other results is F, they say they have been given F. So government is a continuity. When you took over, how much reserve did you find in the Bank of Ghana? More than 8 billion. Even President Mahama said it. So when there are debt, you emphasize the debt, and then you run away from other area. I don't really know whether debt was left. But whatever was left, remember that when you were leaving power, we inherited something from you. So the fact that debt was left, it should not mean that, and yet we were able to keep the lights on. That's why there was a debt. Why can't you do that? I've already told you, at the end of the day, the average Ghanaian measure is whether you have been able to keep the light off. And the governance is always about making choices. If you have made certain choices, and that means our lights is off, own it and deal with it. But you cannot push it to a previous government that you said did not manage Ghana very well, and that you were coming back with a reset. Right. Having reset, you are still blaming other people. What kind of reset you are doing? Okay. Then you come up with this gimmick of 24 hours economy, that you are building market that will serve 24 hours economy. You are from the north like myself. Except who is in the market in the night. After 9 p.m. you have 24 hours market. This is just a misplaced priority. I understand Lamjinsi, wherever they are putting out 24 hours market. Usually after 9 p.m. everybody run away from the market. So where have you got this?
Are you attacking the putting up of market structures?
What I'm attacking is that you don't even get the reasonableness test. Some of your policy cannot measure on. When you are not able to put the lights on for a very long time, are this market going to run in darkness? One would have thought that the priority would have been to divest investment to make sure that the lights is on before you even build the 24 hours economy. People are in darkness. I'm just talking about policy coherence. Okay. And when you get the policy wrong, you are asking us to blame the technocrats who cannot speak openly and honestly. Perhaps this Greco boss, he was about to say something, and you had to nip whatever he wanted to say in the bag, so that's why you sack him very, very quickly. Who knows? And you said maybe there's information only known to the minister. And you said the information, maybe the sacking is just a warning to him that there's more to come after you if you talk. And what you are convincing us is that maybe there's information you don't even know. You are also speculating that maybe there's information only known to the minister who might not be able to aid in the public, because the rest of we, the public, are unreasonable people. We cannot understand if he explained it. What would that be? It's not a national security that he said because of national security he cannot say it. Okay. It's simply because to protect the NDC government. Otherwise, what is the national security issue with him speaking why we are firing the Greco this is the chief executive. If he's an arsonist, you name him as an arsonist. For me, this what they call it, the Akosombo, is a very convenient excuse to hide your incompetency. And it's high time you explain what is really going on. Okay. Because the rest of us believe it is Dumso. And yet, history tells us, with the NDC government in place, it's likely to be Dumso. Okay. And if it is not, explain it. If you believe it's transformers, tell us where the maps of the transformer, where you are replacing them. And perhaps videos. Because everybody everywhere, they say they do not see the transformer being changed.
Thank you, Lawyer Isaac. Thank you for making the point. This is current agenda on Ghana Television, GBC News. You're listening to us live across our 16 regional radio stations as well. This morning, my guests have been talking about whether it's Dumso or not, energy sector issues at the table this morning. We'll take a quick break, hear from our sponsors. We're back with more.
Back and stay safe. The National Petroleum Authority is cautioning the public to desist from scooping or fetching fuel from overturned fuel tankers at accident scenes. Do not get closer to the scene in an attempt to take videos or pictures. Inhaling the petroleum product is detrimental to your health. Worst of all, petroleum products are volatile and highly flammable, and a small spark can trigger a catastrophic explosion, causing deaths and loss of property. Call the Ghana Fire Service or Ghana Police personnel to handle the scene, or reach the National Petroleum Authority's contact center on 0302 550 380. Your life is worth more than a gallon of fuel. This Save a Life campaign is from the National Petroleum Authority.
For decades, we have helped businesses connect with their trade partners all over the globe. From Ghana to Burkina Faso, Côte d'Ivoire, Benin, Togo, Senegal, China, Morocco, France, Netherlands, and many other countries. We have made it possible to bring Ghana to the world. We have brought small and medium businesses closer to their customers across the regions in Ghana with our SME support facilities. We have brought relief and smiles to the faces of families with our employee personal loans. With our cutting-edge technology and digital support, we take the burden of complex thinking off you, making life simple. That is who we are, as close as a partner. Bank of Africa. We are indeed the African bank with the global reach.
The Lands Minister announced the decision during a meeting with the management of Adamus Resources at the Ministry on Thursday. He described the engagement as constructive and emphasized the need for due process in addressing the concerns raised by the company.
It's very important that as a minister, I look at the petition that has been brought and get a bigger picture to come to a conclusion.
The committee, made up of officials from the Minerals Commission and the Lands Ministry, has been given 2 weeks to submit its report. The minister says the process will allow the company to respond to any findings before a final decision is taken.
We will directly engage Adamus and give them the opportunity to address a lot of the concerns they have in this petition. And after that, they will give me a comprehensive report and recommendation. And I will give them a maximum of 2 weeks to do that work.
Meanwhile, an interim management committee has been established to oversee operations at the mine to ensure sanity
While the review is ongoing, the minister stressed that the process would not prejudice earlier findings by the Minerals Commission.
Welcome back to Current Agenda. And this morning we've been talking about the Akosombo fire power outages Dumso debate. We're moving swiftly into Adamas Resources, mining regulations, and the Prestia Bogoso revival. And who's joined us at the table this morning is Pa Kwesi Shandoff, his press secretary to the Ministry of Lands and Natural Resources. He's joined the gentleman at the table this morning. Good morning.
Good morning.
Hope you're well. I'm good. Okay, I see you hop on from, media platform to the other.
Absolutely.
Lots of explanations to give. Listening to the minister there, meet the team from Adamas. Somehow the sentiment on the streets are that, okay, this is good that you're cracking the whip on who is not doing what is right. Because yes, Galamsey is still here. And, all the efforts to end it. When is it ending and what are the steps you're taking? If you can run us through before the license of Adamas was even revoked.
Well, so first off, let me seize the opportunity to say good morning to your very good self and to my brothers who are on this particular panel. I listened to the previous conversation, but I don't think I want to pass any comments in that regard. On the substantive matter of the revocation of Adamus's mining license, as you rightly indicated, it's an act that basically reflects the disposition of the sector minister, Honorable Amakofibwa, in cracking the whip where there are defects, or if you like, where there are breaches and transgressions perpetrated by both small-scale mining entities and those in the large-scale spectrum. In this particular instance, focusing on Adamas Resources Limited, the host community earlier started giving feedback on how that the operations of the entity in question was not in tandem with appropriate regulations. Now, anytime such feedback are generated, the protocol or the procedure is that a team from the Minerals Commission, which is actually the principal regulator, is deployed to ascertain the veracity of those claims or otherwise. And so in this instance, that was exactly done. A team was commissioned at the regional level. Adamas is in the western region. Now, they embarked on their fact-finding mission, and then they submitted a report. But that report, in the reasoning and in the judgment of the sector minister, was not enough to land a definitive conclusion. So the minister, in the exercise of prudence and to come to a place of absolute certainty, deployed another team, this time around from the national level, to go and validate the earlier reports that had been submitted. Now, after the second, if like, continued fact-finding mission, it was still apparent that the activities of Adamas Resources Limited were rather extremely questionable. So the Minerals Commission, under the circumstances, then decided to recommend to the minister that it is important that their license is revoked, simply because they have flouted a plethora of mining regulations. If I have to summarize the nature of their transgressions, we can put them in legal breaches as well as environmental pollution. Basically, if you sum the totality of, in fact, there is a report that outlines the nature of the investigation that was carried. But if you look at it in sum, you are seeing effectively that first off, there was an issue with their legal operations or some of their legal arrangements. Then, of course, their systems and their operational protocols. Now, on the part of the legality, I've forgotten the specific section, but if you look at the Minerals and Mining Act, you would clearly see that if a concession or a mineral right is extended to you, and at any point in your operation you desire to extend it to another party or go into any form of contractual engagement with another enterprise, exactly. Section 14, exactly. You have to, as a matter of necessity, write to the sector minister and seek express approval. If we want to put it in layman's terms, let's assume that I rent a house to you, and then while you are living there, you say, okay, at this particular point, you want to now operate a restaurant, you have a business venture. I think even in the realm of common sense, it's normal for you to get back to me, your landlord, and say that, look, you give me this facility to stay in, but I want to now do a small makeup shop around it and all of that. Then we can renegotiate the terms or have further discussions.
Absolutely.
This is even in the realm of common sense. But in law, where mining is concerned, again, if you are given a concession, the expectation is that if you want to repurpose it for any reason, you have to get the express approval of the sector minister. Unfortunately, Adamos did not do that, and there is evidence that backs this particular claim and assertion.
Which dates back to how long were they negligent of doing this?
Well over 3 years, if I have to say, right? That they had given portions of their concessions to illegal miners to be, running certain operations without recourse to this particular provision. Now that is grave enough, but beyond the gravity of that transgression, also the investigation revealed that the totality, if you like, of their operations were flouting basically all the environmental guidelines governing mining in terms of the chemicals that they were using, and then quite a number of issues. In fact, it is even imagined that the quantum of gold that they were declaring, as output of their operations, all of those were understated. Indeed, it's a plethora of issues. I'm not sure we have time to go into all of that. So, based on the reports, the minister under the circumstances said, look, following the recommendation of the Minerals Commission, let us crack the whip to serve as a deterrent to other people who may want to ply that same unfortunate path. And so that is the decision that was taken. But then after it was taken, Adamos, we all saw their statement indicating that, well, they were not given room, and if they had been given room, maybe that conclusion would not have been reached. And there have been concerns from
room to do what, to fix 3 years
room to address the reports, the contents of the report. When the notice of the revocation came out, then that was their reaction, that nobody heard them. And we've seen a section of the public have also argued that, look, if you embarked on any investigation on any mining entity and you realized that there were transgressions, why didn't you give them room to, as it were, if like maybe make things better? But again, in our mining laws as well, you would see that there are times where the minister is clothed with the power to instantly revoke licenses, right, without recourse to maybe hearing the offending party. And in this case, it was one. So under normal circumstances, even they are meeting and they are coming to the ministry on Friday, which you adequately covered, should not have happened in the first place. But then again, the minister on humanitarian grounds says that, look, let me still give them a hearing. And that was what warranted the meeting.
Why did he choose to use the former of, not listening to them before?
Yes, that's the point I'm making. That in the light of the revelations that had been borne out by the investigation, he had the rights. I mean, the law permits him to instantly revoke. And so I'm saying, under normal circumstances, we can say that the chapter is closed. However, on humanitarian grounds, it says that, look, let me listen to them. And so they came in the company of their chief executive officer. The meeting was quite brief but deep and extensive, and the minister then agreed. So you see in your shots that was that particular meeting. So the minister then said, okay, so I'm going to listen to you. Then he established the interministerial committee. I mean, the ministerial committee, I should say. They've been given 2 weeks to, as it were, determine the merits of the petition or otherwise. Then an appropriate recommendation would be made. But in the meantime, an IMC has been installed, or I should say would be installed, hopefully on Monday, to supervise the operations of the mines. Now, the majority of the people who would be on that IMC would come from the government side, and maybe just about 2 or 3 people from the affected party, the aggrieved entity, Adamos. All right, so that is where we have effectively gotten to with Adamos. And if I have to wrap up on my preliminary comments, I want to say that the move to revoke the Adamos license is not in any way a political move, neither is it animated by any form of parochialism. We've heard people say that all of this is targeted, somebody has an interest somewhere. It's none of that. It's just the rules being enforced to the latter. Well, also the questions are that, genuinely, with this crackdown, what do we ultimately hope to see happen to Adamos if it is ascertained that
the allegations are proven right, and for 3 years they have done things legally, illegally, what's going to happen to them? And that's where maybe people may think that is a political gimmick. Is this going to be to the OSP, to the Attorney General?
Fair point, indeed. Now, the transgressions of Adamus do, it spans way beyond the 3 years, because their sins, for the want of a better word, didn't begin now. I mean, it's been quite some years now. On the matter of prosecution, the sector minister, again, within the course of last week, or let me say this week, had cause to engage the Attorney General on the prosecutorial path.
Okay.
And so what is finalized, I'm sure, would be concluded. But that is not out of the conversation, because indeed, if they have been deemed to have breached the laws, what should logically follow is appropriate prosecution. So we would communicate the
there's commitment to follow through with this.
I mean, if there was no commitment, you wouldn't have revoked the license in the very first place. If you revoke the license and you deny them of their business operations, and you cause them all of that, if you like, economic inconvenience, why wouldn't you go ahead and prosecute them as well? We will. If there is grounds, we would definitely travel that path as well.
You get why these questions may be asked, because already, aside from the questions about the OSP's office and the extended power it has, where it's supposed to draw its powers from and all of that, there are other cases like the wound to mean, illegal mining and all of them. So that's why these questions may come up. But this precedent, what does it seem to have set for us, what the minister has done?
It basically rewrites the narrative. I do not, off the top of my head, I don't know, maybe perhaps my colleagues around the table can remember. I don't remember the last time the license of a large-scale mining company in this country was revoked. I do not remember. Neither do I recall if there has been any stricter enforcement of law in that regard. I mean, in the recent while. All right. So the fact that we are seeing it now is a valid attestation of the fact that we have gotten into a realm where the laws are being enforced to the latter. And that broadly ties into the vision of the President, His Excellency John Dramani Mahama, in resetting the country. The reset agenda of government basically extends to all quarters, including the mining sector. And so let me even take you back to somewhere last year. If you recall, we did a review of some small-scale mining licenses. I believe we did a total of about 1,278 small-scale licenses, which were all reviewed. In that exercise, 316 were spared. At the end of the day, when the whole process was over, we revoked about 278 small-scale licenses whose operations were not conforming to the appropriate laws and the procedures. So even in the small scale sector, we have done it. In the large scale sector, I mean, we are seeing other moves in motion, and very soon as we progress, there will be more to come. All of that is effectively to sanitize the space under the sector minister, Honorable Amakofi-Boa. Because look, mining is a very lucrative venture. I mean, it's one that is a buoyant enterprise, but unfortunately, it comes with its own challenges, and more often than not, a lot of people look at the economic concerns and the investor considerations, and they allow the illegalities to fester. But here and now, the conversation is that, look, we know that mining is very profitable. We know that mining could as well be the lifeline of the economy and all of that. But while we are looking at the monetary consideration, we also have to give recourse to the environmental and safety concerns. And so if you're a large scale outfit, or you operate within the small scale spectrum, or you do any form of mining business whatsoever, at any material point, if you breach the rules, the whip will be accordingly cracked without fear.
And I saw a video of a school in the western region that there was a mining site, yes, very close to it, because you talk about cracking the whip. I don't know if that has come to your attention. I believe so, if you have a comment.
Absolutely. And let me seize this opportunity to commend the media for their extensive coverage on the menace of illegal mining. Indeed, but for the media, some of these things may not have necessarily come to our attention. That does not mean we are sleeping on the job or we are not being thoroughly observant. But you see, there are so many things to be doing at the same time, and so we applaud you for that. When I saw it, I was thoroughly devastated, because if you look at the nature of the damage and how that is very close to a structure that has young people moving up and down, you want to wonder, what if tomorrow we wake up and then this whole thing collapses on them, which is actually a very reasonable possibility. I mean, it can happen at any material moment. Okay, and even the operations of that particular site, the dust that it emits and all of that, is it not hazardous? So the moment we saw it. I drew the attention of the minister to saying he noted it, and as I speak, the National Anti-Illegal Mining Operations Secretariat, currently they are lacing their boots to go into that enclave and then sanitize the space. I speak for NIMOS as well, right? And so I can assure that NIMOS has taken note of that development and action will be taken appropriately.
My other guests have talked about audits when we're talking about the energy sector. Has your outfit or your ministry done an audit of Ghana's mines when you came into office? Because Ghanaians do not want to be taken by surprise. I mean, with this issue that you're talking about the school, understand that it's hydra-headed, it's a large country, the mining areas are vast. Have you done an audit, or are you doing an audit?
So, the nature of the mining space, I like the word that you use, except that I forgot and I want to pronounce the same thing. Hydra what?
Hydra-headed.
Great. So it's multifaceted. Basically, the issues are so intermingled and they are enormous. So you cannot have just one instance of audit. You have to be doing it over and over again. So, for example, for mining operations, every month and every quarter, the Chief Inspector of Mines embarks on regulatory, monitoring to ensure that operations are in conformity with the laws. But in terms of the audits, we do it. Indeed, we have done a couple of them, and I mean the outcomes will be published very soon. But we have been doing it. How many years have we been in office? Just a year and I think some months. Yeah. So we've done all across. In fact, it is in the light of some of these audits that we are seeing the things that we are seeing now. ADAMOs, the small scale, licensing revocation, and all of that. So we have indeed been doing a couple of audits here and there.
And I saw the video of the news on the 110 grams of gold from ENP being handed over to Gold Board, and Mr. Sami Jimfi commending the fact that local revenue generation, retaining of our gold, monies. If you have a comment on that as well.
Well, so on ENP, when the lease was given to them,
that's a Daman
mines, yes, and when they meritoriously won the bid for that matter, we saw a section of the Ghanaian public arguing that that particular lease award was not meritorious, it was not anchored on competence, but rather it was inspired by the familial ties of the owner of the firm and the President of the Republic. But as we can see, shortly thereafter, I mean, it's been less than 3 weeks, I believe, we are seeing the fruit of that particular development, how that is beginning to nicely shape up. And I want to believe that even as we progress, more and more is going to come. You see, when it comes to the economy, and I have always had cause to say that there is no need for us to politicize economic matters. Even the Dumso issue, for example, it's unfortunate that over the years we have scored political points across both divide. We have always, milked some kind of political capital from some issues. But there are certain issues that do not discriminate amongst us. And so, if indeed those issues affect everybody, naturally we should all build some kind of consensus in dealing with all of those matters. All right. So, local mining investment is one of them. I mean, if we're in a country where all our mineral or gold resources are being mined by foreigners over the years, look at all the large-scale mining companies. We hardly own any, right? And so when, for the very first time, we are seeing our own people, so to speak, getting into the space and actually proving that they have demonstrable competence to be able to execute and deliver results, it's only appropriate that we all come around the table and support. But of course, we are allowed to criticize. Right. But there's a difference between criticism and malicious fault finding. And that is what we personally observed in the case of the ENP lease award. But like I'm saying, time is beginning to justify the decision of the
in the same time, if they do not conform to regulations.
Absolutely.
These are the concerns.
The CEO of the Minerals Commission, Mr. Isaac Tando, let me see this opportunity to say a very good morning to him. He was very emphatic when the lease was being handed over. I mean, at that colorful ceremony, he said that, look, the fact that there's a lot of national applause that has animated this whole award to EMP doesn't mean if at any point they violate the laws, they are going to be let off the hook. Indeed, if they do at any material moment, trust me, the whip will equally be cracked.
Thank you, Shandoff. And because you mentioned colorful ceremony, in my reflections this morning, I spoke about the buses that have been acquired, that have been sitting at the terminals, waiting for Ghanaians to get to benefit from them. And so I'll definitely ask government at the table, who is lawyer Alhassan Fatal and Shandoff, if he's still here with us. But let me go to Bracco Powers now on this Adamus mining lease revocation. You've seen their petition, you've seen them, the team meets the minister.
It's intriguing, and I think we need to commend the minister for stepping up the game. And I say this because it appears there is a bold decision to increase local content in our mining sector. But this is not new, because this is a build-on or an add-on to previous effort by the past administrations. So 20, 30 years, I mean, let me say, from the works by previous government. Now, what were the basis for the revocation or the suspension? Let me say suspension, not revocation. Suspension of Adamus Resources mining lease. And the spokesperson of the ministry has advanced the reason. And I also had opportunity to look at, read, or even watch the press conference organized by the Minerals Commission boss. And you can summarize the issues under two headings. One, statutory breaches, and the second is environmental pollution. Now, this leads me to ask this intriguing question. How long has this been going on? The statutory breaches and the environmental pollution, how long has this been running? Did we just discover it? Has it been 3 years in the making, 4 years in the making? And beyond the suspension of the Adamus mining lease, what other steps are we taking? Because if this has been going on for some years, or even months, then we have to begin questioning our inspectorate division, whether indeed our inspectors do conduct the work that they have been entrusted to do. Because clearly we are talking about a situation which is similar to Akonta mining, where mining lease has been given to a designated company, and that company had in turn given part to a different company without the sanction of the minister, as provided for in section 14 of the Mining and Minerals Act. Now, but this is then, again I ask, was the company heard? The spokesperson said he has had many push forth this argument, but he believes, or other people have had a counter argument, that the minister could suspend without recourse to the company. But when you look at the act, there's no way that the minister can unilaterally suspend the mining lease of a company without hearing them. In fact, but this is when you look at the act, from section 68, 69, 87, it tells you the lawmaker has woven into the law an opportunity to afford any company that will be injured by your decision an opportunity to be heard. So when you look at the Mining and Minerals Act, it has what we call the principles of natural justice. So the Minerals and Mining Act, so the principles of natural justice, the two legs.
It's the same law that allows him to also revoke or suspend the license without hearing them?
It doesn't. So what I'm saying is that that law does not give room for the minister to suspend unilaterally without recourse or without hearing from the affected company or the company that will be affected by the decision. There is nowhere in the act, the Minerals and Mining Act, there is nowhere in the act. That's why I've given you clearly stated provisions, section 68, 69, and 87. And in fact, let's do some a bit of reading, because so that we can give your listeners and your viewers the best option. Now let's look at section 68 of the Minerals and Mining Act 2006. And let me read the provision, and you understand that there's no way that the minister could exercise that unilateral decision. Now 68 says the minister, on the recommendation of the commission, may suspend or cancel a mineral right. So that is 68.1. 68.1. If the holder fails to make payment on due date and others. But let's look at 2. It says the minister shall, before suspending or cancelling a mineral right under subsection 1, give notice to the holder and shall in the notice require the holder to remedy a breach. Now let's look at even 68. Look at 69. 69.2. 69.2 also deals with suspension and cancellation of mining lease or restricted mining lease. And it says the minister shall, before suspending or cancelling a mining lease, give notice to the holder and shall in the notice require the holder to remedy the breach within a reasonable period, be no less than 120 days, and where the breach cannot be remedied, to show cause to the reasonable satisfaction of the minister why the mining lease or restricted mining lease should not be suspended or cancelled. So when you look at the combined effect of these provisions together with section 87, is to the effect that before any such right is exercised, the minister must afford the company that will be affected an opportunity to be heard.
Okay.
And in this case, the minister or the ministry has not shown to Ghanaians that they did afford them the opportunity. They have not shown. Because the sponsor is saying that, in fact, per his submission, I get the feeling that they didn't. Because he's saying that some people are saying that the ministry was supposed to have heard from the people. And others are also saying that why the minister can exercise that right unilaterally. And I'm saying that there's no foundation for that proposition, that the minister could suspend any company without hearing from the company. It's nowhere. In fact, our Supreme Court and our courts have made this clear that where you have the opportunity to make a decision, which decision will affect the rights of somebody, you must give that person an opportunity to be heard.
And there's no overarching legal instrument that overpowers this.
In fact, natural justice, when you breach a breach of the rule of natural justice or the rules of natural justice, means that any decision that you take will be null and void. Wow. A breach of the rules of natural justice. In fact, our court have had to even quash judgment. The Supreme Court and even High Court, because these are the two courts that have supervisory jurisdiction. They have had courts to quash judgment of other courts because parties were denied opportunity to be heard. In fact, the famous case of Awuni versus Wayek. Awuni versus Wayek, where the results of the students were cancelled. Supreme Court said, why? Why didn't you give them an opportunity to be here? Why didn't you hear from them? If you suspected that they may have engaged in examination malpractice, at least hear from them.
Even though you know that conclusively.
No, because you can't have
the evidence.
No, you can't. You see, that's why the thing is that the principle of natural justice is similar to what in criminal justice system we say an accused is innocent until proven guilty.
Okay.
I don't want to disrupt you, but Lord Denny famously said, even a court is guilty if the court hear from one side and then pass judgment.
Exactly. Okay.
So court itself must subject itself to natural justice.
Right.
So, but this is the thing. So we must not take it literally. I support and I applaud what the minister is doing. In fact, he's done a fantastic work. In fact, the kind of work we have entrusted in his care is Herculean. Because the issue of galamsey is a major thing on our table.
Major.
Even though we are yet trying to, we've not concluded with stamping out the menace. But you can see some visible progress, even though we have a lot to do.
Right.
But I think let's not saddle ourselves with judgment debt. You see, because when we take decisions,
it gives Adamus a certain power to do.
Yes, you are giving opportunity to people to take you on.
Okay.
Because when they feel they are right or a decision was not done within the present or the parameters of the law, they will have the opportunity to challenge you.
What would it have taken for them to hear them? How is it? How's the process of hearing the passing out?
It says there were 2 investigative bodies. So I'm thinking that after the 2 bodies visited the scene, they will give the opportunity to the leadership of the company to respond to their findings.
Yep.
So you give them the findings, that these were our findings. What do you say about them?
Okay. And that's in the form of hearing them.
Yep.
That's in the form of hearing them.
Okay.
They can admit or challenge it.
So they can tell you, this is true, this is not true, this is this, and this, we are not the cause for this. Then, in that case, you have given opportunity to respond to your claims. But if you bandit your own conclusions, your own words to Ghanaians, and the basis of which you are saying you have suspended their license, and you want Ghanaians to applaud you, no, we want you to do the right thing, but we want you to do it within the presence of the law.
Okay, but it's a step in doing the right thing.
So in doing the right thing, give them an opportunity to be heard.
Okay.
Don't forget that a while ago when the former Chief Justice was when the petitions were filed, and same was forwarded to the Council of State. Remember, it even triggered the lawsuit we have in before the Supreme Court, the laws, where even in Vincent, as a first case, he raised an issue regarding the former Chief Justice not given an opportunity to respond to the petition before even the prima facie determination was made.
Okay.
You get it?
I want.
So, Manditi, what I'm saying is that. So what I'm saying is that the ministry is doing a good work. We support them, but in doing a good work, don't saddle yourself with illegality. The company, Adamus Resources, is saying they were not heard. The ministry has not come out to challenge them. So to what intent and purposes, they were not given an opportunity. Because the spokesperson did not affirmatively confirm that indeed they granted them a hearing. He was trying to throw the 2 sides of the argument into the public square for Ghanaians to arrive at the conclusion. I'm saying that if you look at the Minerals and Mining Act, it has in it an architecture of natural justice, and a breach of which will render any decision taken void.
Shanda, what do you have to say about that? Because you said it, that you didn't hear them out. It was at this meeting which we saw was when they brought the petition, is it?
Exactly. Right. If we proceed, I'm sure there'll be a lot of back and forth on this. So I did indicate earlier that there were 2 investigative findings that were commissioned. The very first one was at the regional level. They came out with their report, and subsequently there was another deployment at the national scale to validate the earlier findings of the investigation by the regional team. Now, in both instances, the affected company responded, so to speak, because even in the whole process of the investigation, when you go to the site and you detect an issue, you would, as a matter of logical necessity, question why X is here or Y is there. So there was some kind of audience given to them.
So they responded. You have a written response from them?
Of course, all right. But when the totality of the report was prepared, I mean, when it was now time to take the decision, based on the response that they had provided in the separate investigative ventures, I mean, it was apparent that, look, there was no need to give them any form of audience again, because, I mean, under the circumstances, it would have been just a repetition of what they had given in the 2 instances, and that is why the decision was.
Because.
That how did I know?
They were going to just repeat the defense that they put forward.
Perhaps that would have been there. That logically, indeed, if you look at the petition that they have materially submitted now, it's essentially the same thing. But be that as it may, let us even assume, without admitting, that indeed a certain process was inadvertently sidestepped. We have come to a place now where the mine is going to be allowed to operate in the interest of, even the workers there. And then we are now giving room to the same embattled animals to justify why their decision should not hold. And we've been given 2 weeks. We've given 2 weeks to the committee to do that. And so I'm sure by the end of that period, we will not be saddled with any judgment like
before Shandov ends on his point. The company was categorical.
Okay.
That it was not informed of even specific allegations. So even though Shandov is saying
there were 2 investigators
and they asked them to respond to certain claims, the company is saying that some of the claims, the basis of which the ministry exercised its power under the Minerals and Mining Act, they were not given an opportunity to respond to them.
Well, they were.
Okay.
I mean,
it is your word against
exactly. So that's why I said it would be a lot of back and forth. So what is the progress we have made now? Now we are still in the realm of discussion. They've submitted a petition. It is going to be heard, and then we'll come to the final determination.
And hearing of this, what do we do? We hear it in camera. How do we?
So now it's more like you're asking the ministry to review its own decision. That is the suspension, because you believe that it was wrongly exercised. So now the ministry, that conversation will not be open to the public.
Okay.
Which is why he said the ministry had set up a committee to look at the circumstances surrounding the whole conversation. But in concluding, the government or the minister is moving on at a pace that is commendable. But let's be careful.
Okay.
Let's not invite needless, litigation. You get it. Let's be careful. The minister, so far, I applaud the minister for the steps he has taken so far, even in terms of increasing local content and injecting confidence in Ghanaians that Ghanaians can do it. It's something that's, it's welcoming.
Okay.
But let's be careful.
But that will guide them moving forward. Jeff, I should have a word or comment on this, and then.
I do, obviously. And I have a difficulty here. Like Councillor Wright said, if you've looked at how the Minister for Lands has gone about his duties so far, you can only commend him. He's been very much up to the task. He's almost everywhere, and the challenges he's confronted with are daunting. Nonetheless, you can see clearly in him that he's one man who is cut for the job, and he's also coming from a position that where you can say he can be credited with some past experiences in terms of handling environmental issues, because he's been a minister for energy before, I think even a deputy minister first before substantive minister, and so environmental issues are not new to him. I think this whole thing is because of the current posture of the government in the fight against Galamsey. We see this government taking a no-nonsense stance, even though Galamsey continues to be a bigger issue. But like as I said, sometimes in an attempt to fight some of these things, if you don't take your time, you will sidestep very germane procedural requirements. And the Supreme Court does not have any sympathy for anybody, regardless of the substance of the matter, who sidestepped procedural requirements, especially when it comes to the breach of the rules of natural justice. We have all listened and followed the discussions. In fact, you don't, as a lawyer, and I'm speaking about this topic, or I'm making these submissions as a lawyer. I think we did not duly follow the procedural requirements in taking this decision. The decision may have been taken first. If you're looking at the submission, the earlier submission by Akosi, one, the community is protested. So sometimes, as a politician, if you don't take it, you'll be emotive in taking your decision. The community protested, and so sometimes you are eager to satisfy the community, and in an attempt to do that, you would do things not. Look, the Supreme Court, especially the Supreme Court, if it comes out truly. In fact, Practice is saying that in the work of those two committees, they did engage the licensee. But the Supreme Court has even said that hearing you are giving to the other party must be one that is adequate.
Exactly.
It must address the specific charges you are leveling against him. When I look at this case, the Republic versus High Court, as part of Attorney General Eston Kubik, being an interested party, it is a classic case. And so when it comes to revocation of licenses for mining companies, they are done on two grounds. One is where there is a breach of the license conditions. And the breach can come in the form of they not paying their license fees, they smuggling this thing, a lot of things. The breaches are there. They are spelled out. The other ground for breach is in the interest of all, is in public interest. You can revoke a license based on public interest or on grounds of public interest. Now, the Supreme Court has no means where, and even all our courts have no means where to say that regardless of the nature of the breach, whether it is in public interest. And in the case of Center for Public Policy, Public Law and Interest versus Tema Oil Refinery, it's a 2017 or so case. It is saying that environmental pollution is seen to be a breach of public interest, or it's supposed to be a ground for public interest. Right. So where there's environmental pollution. Now, the Supreme Court and all the courts are saying that whatever the form of breaches, whether it is a breach against the license conditions. One breach against the license is where you are not following through with your approved plan of work. You know, the chief inspector will always give you an approved plan of work. It was one of the grounds here that whatever they were doing, they were not following through, and even they didn't come for. I think some of the areas they didn't come for approved plan of work before whatever was happening was happening. And the Supreme Court said that put all the breaches together, be it in the public interest or everything. And see, when it comes to public interest, the law gives the minister some form of discretion. And I'm sure that is where we are getting it. We are not getting it right. Article 23 of the Constitution and Article 296 of the Constitution, which articles were highly enunciated in the case of Awuni versus Waik that he has talked about. These two are saying that when you are given a discretion. So yes, the law may have given you discretions when it comes to public interest, because public interest there you must act. And act decisively and swiftly to address the issue. The law is telling you, even in that discretion that you are clothed with, you should still be mindful of Article 23 and Article 296, which means that the breach of natural justice is still germane regardless of the situation.
Okay. Non-negotiable.
It's not negotiable.
All right.
And what does it say? Give him a notice in their own law, in Act 703, the Minerals and Mining Act. Give the licensee a notice of his breach. And I give him 120 or 60 days, depending on what the case may be, to respond to the breach. And look, the law is funny. It even says that even if that breach is irremediable, even if that breach cannot be remedied, let the licensee show cause why the license should not be revoked. He should show cause. So that means you tell him that I will revoke it. Tell me why it should not be revoked. But don't go ahead with the revocation before
giving him reasons. So me, this petition that is brought is after the incident, after the fact. And in fact, as a lawyer, there's a 99% chance that if this matter gets to court, that decision will be set aside. In fact, I can say 99%, 99. And if you come to the Akosombo case, you know what happened? In 2026, when the previous NDC government was going out of power, it gave, this is still, sorry, I said 2026. 2016. It gave 3 licenses to Akosombo to mine bauxite. Now, in September 2017, the new administration revoked those 3 licenses. And they gave 2 reasons for the revocation. One was that the grant of the licenses did not go through, it did not satisfy all statutory requirements. And the second reason they gave was that it didn't comply with Article 2681 of the Constitution, which has to do with parliamentary ratification. You know, per Article 2681, any agreement regarding our mineral resources has to come to the people's representative, that is Parliament, to be ratified. It didn't meet those 2 requirements. So the minister gave a letter, issued a letter in September 2017 to revoke the license of Akosombo. And Akosombo took it to court. The minister thought that once these 2 requirements, because if there's no parliamentary ratification, in fact, in plethora of cases, we are told that there's even nothing. If you are supposed to go for ratification, you don't go for ratification, forget it. Nothing is even. When they went to High Court, you know what the High Court did? The High Court quashed the letter of the minister and said that no, yes, even though they didn't meet the statutory requirements, even though there was no parliamentary ratification, you still have to give them the opportunity to be heard. Let them respond. Give them the opportunity. And so the High Court quashed it. The matter went to Supreme Court. The Supreme Court in 2019, July, quashed the decision of the High Court too and restored the letter of the minister. And this was the ordinary bench of the Supreme Court. And you know what the Supreme Court said? The Supreme Court said that if, in the first place, to them, once the licenses that were issued, they don't have parliamentary ratification, that means they never even came into being. So it was void ab initio. Pro tanto. Void ab initio. So it means that it didn't even exist. So to them, to the ordinary bench of the Supreme Court, if something doesn't even exist, why do you say somebody should go through processes to revoke it?
Absolutely.
But guess what? What happened? That was in July 2019. In January 2020, the matter went on review at the Supreme Court again. And the panel was increased. So now, by a majority decision, 5-2, not even 3-2 or 5-4, 5-2, the Supreme Court is to change its position.
Using same constitution, change its position from 2 years
said that
ago.
The same Supreme Court, the ordinary bench, forgot to say that even if the thing was invalid, was void ab initio, they forgot that this principle of natural justice is a principle that is enshrined in every law, whether it is explicitly stated or not.
Wow.
Respect it. And so even if it was void ab initio, follow the processes. So as for me, the processes are as crucial as the substance. And I see that the ministry was so concerned, was occupied with the substance. It's all the environmental pollution and all these things may have been.
But the ministry has legal advisors, don't they?
Sometimes.
I know this conversation. Yes. I'm telling you, it will shock you. And it will shock you that most of the decisions that Honorable is saying, that even were later, revoked or quashed by the Supreme Court, were decisions taken by people who have legal background.
Even the ordinary bench, Supreme Court itself, agreed with the minister.
Wow.
So you can imagine. And another set of this
Supreme Court
came to change their own position.
Honorable, I want to give Shandolph a chance because we may be running out of time.
I have not said anything.
You will. After he's done, I come straight to you.
No, I think you should just let him add
the Prestia Bogoso, because I know you would have something to say about that. Then you would say all together. Okay. Shandolph, if you can do that snappy for me about the Prestia Bogoso.
Well, so for Prestia Bogoso, we have to put on record that. But I want to say that I appreciate the legal clarification. I don't believe that take a cue and then proceed from there. Thank you very much, gentlemen. So on Cristiano also, the truth of the matter is that it's also actually a local outfit. That is Heath Goldfield. I don't think we have the time. Otherwise, I would have taken us through the genesis of their lease acquisition and all that has happened up to this particular point. But if I were to summarize, the truth of the matter is that they inherited a mine that was fraught with so many problems, especially the financial obligations that they had to take on themselves upon the issuance of their lease. And from that period up to now, they have done significantly well in trying to mitigate the issue. Indeed, they only started operations somewhere in December last year. So calculatedly, up to now, it's only around 4 months. So for a local entity that is coming into the fray, inheriting the, for the want of a better word, mess of, another outfit that was not a local outfit anyway, I think we should begin to give them some grace and extend certain cordial courtesies to them, especially because they have shown that they are willing to take remedial steps to undo the damages that have been caused. In fact, as I speak to you now, apart from the payments that have been given to the embattled staff, the SNID and debts that have been cleared, the VRA obligations and all of that, effective this month, they are beginning the commencement of payment of severance packages to all affected workers, which is even dating back to somewhere 2016, when they were nowhere even around the mine. So for the fact that they are showing promise, and I'm saying for the want of time, otherwise I would have given you the specific figures, how much have been paid and all of that. So for a local firm that is showing promise, that is pregnant with a lot of prospects.
We could just brush through.
I'm going to do that.
If I go to lawyer, it's hard.
Exactly. I'm going to do that, since it's very, very crucial to the conversation. All right. So on Heath. So this is what has been done so far.
Right.
The total amount of money so far that has been paid to embattled workers is 100 to the tune of 166 million Ghana cedis. That is the total amount of salaries, old salaries, that 6 million Ghana cedis. Ghana cedis, yes. The entity as of now has also been able to post a capacity bond of $50 million. The number of jobs that have been mobilized, that is direct and indirect, is somewhere around 1,357. But let's look at on the ground, really the situation they came to meet. I think that is very consequential to the matter. So a total inherited debt of $87 million was really what they came to meet. Now that included $25 million being workers' salary. The previous operators owed VRA $25 million, and then SNID, GRA, Gradeco and other contractors combined, that was $37 million. All right, if you do the math, you realize that Heath as of now has done well over 80% in clearing or offsetting some of these obligations. And I'm saying that effective this month, they will begin the payment of severances to all the affected workers and all of that. And so for the fact that, again, I'm saying they've shown a lot of promise, there is prospect and there is the ambition to do more, especially because it's a local outfit. I think we should give them the grace to proceed with their operations without all the interruptions here and there, because yes, they also have the backing of the locals. I mean, we at the ministry
genuine questions, you would say. You cannot dismiss genuine questions.
Yes, but
or probing.
Well, most of them, as even at the ministerial level we have observed, at the ministry's level I should say, you realize that they seem to be animated by some kind of parochialism. If you look at some of the criticisms and comments, because it is a very simple issue. Somebody is living in a house, the person messes it up, another person comes, is trying to reorganize, rebuild, restructure. Give the person grace to do that form of re-engineering, especially when they are showing the competence and the promise to actually now erect a new and effective structure. Why do you go distracting and question their ability, especially when the facts clearly affirm that they are actually doing a lot?
Okay.
So that can only be parochialism.
Right, Isaac. I come to you now.
I could see from the advertised leaflet that he's a press secretary. The gentleman there is a press secretary. I just wanted to know how would you describe the nature of his job? Is he a civil servant there, a public servant, or a party representative at the ministry? What is he? Civil servant? Yes. Yes.
Yes, he's the...
What would you describe your work?
Public
servant. Good. I'm saying that because with public servants and civil servants, your role generally, especially when you are giving information, it should be what we call functional. Functional in say that you provide the information to the public. You don't need to persuade anybody about a particular government. And it's for the public to make up their mind whether the information you give them is credible or not. But you could see more or less he was also doing much more politics, especially when he talked about the actual implementation of the act. And he emphasized that President Mahama have actively implemented the act by acting on it, and he cannot even remember any government that has made an attempt. I know my good brother Abdul Fattah is shaking his head. Whichever way you shake his head, for me, I believe you have gone beyond your role. Otherwise, if you come here, say that you are party representative in the land ministry, so for the public to add that information to make up their mind. So I think you were doing politics.
But he's representing the ministry.
That's what I said. He's doing politics as well. So he
can't acknowledge the sitting president of the country.
He's there because of the NDC.
He can't acknowledge the president.
Having said that, please allow me to flow. So that, having said that, I've listened to my two brothers, and I have to commend my good friend Abdul Fattah. I think he has abandoned the politics and take a nationalistic approach to it, and I commend you for that. You see, the rules of natural justice is not only found in Article 296 of the 1992 Constitution. We inherited this from the common law. And there are several cases in the common law. As I emphasized, Lord Denning famously said, even if a court refused to listen to one side, that is why if 1 million people witness a murder, we still want to listen to the so-called the supposed perpetrator of the murder. That did you kill them? And even our constitution even said that even if he said guilty, you have to enter a plea of not guilty, because we want a trial to hear from them. Because sometimes our senses can be very, very faulty until we hear from that side. And Article 296 emphasizes that the decision maker must take natural justice, among other things, when you are exercising a discretion, because it's so fundamental. But I'm not sure why the NDC always get it wrong. They are not fan of this Article 296. It was for this reason that even the Chief Justice case, they ignore it and do whatever they wanted to do. So for us, they are not fond of this Article 296. I am not sure why they do so. Is it because what President Mahama always reminds us about your revolutionary past? You seem not to be fond of natural justice. So this is very fundamental. A lot have been said as to how our cases like the Awuni case, there was also a case involving the Electoral Commission where the court emphasized the need to hear from the other side. So if you fail to be doing these things, this is why people can read politics into it. What is the hurry? After all, you don't even take the fight against Galamsey as an agency. Because when you were in opposition, you said this was an existential threat. In fact, we hear people who spoke about ecocide, the human version of genocide, that this was a time bomb. But when you took power, you were so relaxed that we were more or less thinking like you were enjoying the honeymoon you asked when you were in opposition.
When did you?
No, Naimo came in. Look, let me emphasize that some of the very things they said in opposition, especially when organized labor met the then President Akosombo, they were calling for a state of emergency. And then they spoke about repealing the LI that allow money in the forest reserve. This was the emphasis. Yes, after we have beaten you so much to eat, that was when you repeal it. No, you said, I am just holding you to what you said you would do. Listen, forget about who passed it. This is what you say you would do. And if you say you would do this, for people to forcibly hold you account before you do, you then say, give us credit for repealing it. What about the state of emergency that you said was so much needed that people have to continuously remind you? And in panic, you want to demonstrate that you are really working. Then you violate people's right to natural justice. You still want us to pat you in the back. I think that is very, very unfortunate. So do so. So yes, the fight against Galamsey, for me, I believe that it is always necessary for us to take politics out of it and fight it as a nation. Because the effects of this is not that it's going to kill NDC members and leave MPP members or vice versa. So let's always take a national approach to it. But as Mr. Honorable Abdul Fattah and my colleague here have said, in doing so, let's make sure that we do not violate people Chapter 9 rights under our constitution. For all them to get to court, instead of resolving the issue, there will be a judgment debt of which we have to pay.
Uniformly, that's what you're all saying.
The and if we don't do that, and then people, as I said, people are reading politics to eat. Why are they not able to read? Why are they reading politics to eat? Because the rules against natural justice is so fundamental that they should not get it wrong. There are several cases that will guide them. Why are they getting it wrong? And I think you could see he's struggling to explain it as to why they've gotten it wrong, and just reading that they've had enough.
But he admitted that they've taken a cue.
Well, after getting a beating.
Your legal brain.
Yes, after getting a beating. Yes.
Sir, comment on Precia Bogoso for me.
Yes, so whenever you talk about severance,
the commendations are good. Are they good? That they are reviving, they're doing well.
Well, while they are doing well, again, we have to talk about people's rights. I mean, the right to work, have decent living and employment, they are fundamental rights found even in the Economic Covenant for Social and Political Rights. In our case, also under our Chapter 6 of the 1992 Constitutions. So yes, as a company, while we want to see the survival of the company and progress of the company, we need to make sure that all citizens feel we are all in it together. So for me, the severance is where I have concern. Let's do it in such a way that it does not disrupt a lot of people's lives. And maybe, I'm not sure how severance package is usually given here. Maybe something that can enable people live for some few months before they are able to get alternative. And if possible, if the company can actually give some training to some of the people to find an alternative. And maybe the severance should be arbitrary as well, as to who I like and who I do not like. Maybe it should be based on the fact that the need basis. The company doesn't really need this particular service at this point in time. So this point, I've not actually heard a lot of negative report that suggests that the company seems to be doing something wrong. But other than to caution that people's livelihood is involved, and if you are giving several package, we need to have these things in mind.
Let me comment on the book also.
Briefly.
You must understand that the agitations of the committee members has nothing to do whether or not, even though I've heard some people say Heat Gold doesn't have the technical capabilities, which I'm sure is not a sound argument, because they do. I think Heat Gold is not doing the talking at the grassroots. Because they are winning the battle, the conversation in Accra, but they are losing the conversation at the grassroots. I think, like as Pakosi said, Heat Gold has the capacity to undertake this activity. And we know that the ability was taught for almost close to about 164 days. That is 24 months. Because the previous owners, FDR, Future Global Resources, and Blue Gold, they are challenging the takeover in court. They are currently even before the High Court.
Subsequently, they went to the Supreme Court on the matter of certiorari, which they lost. And they also have an arbitration proceeding ongoing outside Ghana.
Right.
So we should understand that even though it has taken a while for Hit Gold to actualize or activate the mine, we should give them an opportunity to do so. They have demonstrated that they have the capacity to do that. We can raise all the concerns we want to raise, but let's funnel them through the right process. Let's not clothe it in a way to undermine the capacity of the company. And this is my suggestion to the management of Hit Gold. Go to the grassroots and engage the people. Speak to them. Because if you win the conversation in Accra and you are losing the conversation at the grassroots, obviously you are not making progress. So they should go there and level up.
Okay. I thought he claimed earlier the
just 30 seconds. I want to comment on the suggestion for them to engage the local folks. Indeed, it's very important. If you win the public debate and the elitist conversation and the locals are agitated, you won't make progress. So I can confirm that as we speak, I mean, there is a deployment of that nature to, explain the issues thoroughly to the locals as well.
Okay, gentlemen, I want us to move to the Bank of Ghana and the 15.6 billion operational loss that they're saying is cost of monetary intervention surges. Assess that this marks an increase of about 6.2 billion cedis, according to the bank's 2025 audit financial statements released on Friday. Negative equity worsened significantly, rising from 58.62 billion cedis to 93.82 billion. And the total assets grew to 237 billion cedis from 215 billion in 2024. It says total liabilities also surged from 267 billion to 333 billion. And the spike in losses was largely driven by the cost of monetary policy operations. And it talks about open market operations that also rose shortly on all of them. I want to understand what the primary drivers are behind these losses. 15.6 billion of that, and what extent are the losses going to directly result in inflation control measures or impact it? Let me begin with Lawyer Jofa on this.
You don't have time. You are introducing
2 minutes
because I've just seen that
2 minutes.
This is a topic that we need time to digest. And but you see that in all my submissions,
Isaac is pushing you to do propaganda.
I'm trying not to be political, but sometimes I'll ask that you let him speak before me, so I'll see the angle he takes that I can respond appropriately.
So I should cede your time to him for now.
No, this time is not even there already. If I risk.
Isaac will not allow.
So you see, yes, the 2025 annual financial statement is out of the Bank of Ghana. It has made a loss, or if you like, operational cost of 15.6 billion Ghana cedis. But you see, you ask this question, you look at the Bank of Ghana's performance vis-a-vis the mandate of the bank. You see, it is not fair if you say, this is my mandate, and at the end of the year, you want to judge me based on a different criteria, different from my mandate. Nowhere has the mandate of the central bank been to make profit. You see, the price stability, your forex management, your currency control, the stability you bring to the whole economy, those are the major things. And each step you take comes at a cost. Each step you take. So when you are successful at reducing inflation, you are doing that at a cost. When you are successful at managing your CD, your local currency dollar ratio or relationship, you are doing that at a cost. How do you do that at a cost? I remember some of these costs are not necessarily operational costs. Some of them are accounting losses. What is an accounting loss? You see, if yesterday $100 was equivalent to 1,700 cedis yesterday. Now in my books, I know the bank has some of its things in dollars, especially all reserves are in dollars, and some are in
and some of his assets and other things are in the local currency. Okay. Now, in the annual statement, it has to be CD. Now, if you were saying that you had $100, and so because your annual financial statement is in CDs, that $100 will have to be 1,700 CDs. Today, you have prudently managed your CD to such an extent that $100 is no more equivalent to 1,700 CDs. Maybe $100 is now 1,100 CDs. So anybody seeing it will say, you have run at a loss. Why last year, when you had this amount of dollars, it was equivalent to this worth of CDs. Today, this amount of dollars is now equivalent to this. So because you are painting only the CD picture, people will see that there's a loss of at least 600 Ghana cedis in between this. Okay. But is it an economic or an operational loss? No, it is an accounting loss. And you see, when you are addressing the inflation, you look at the fact that because your primary mandate is to address inflationary issues, are you doing it well? Okay. With the cost you are incurring, you understand? Your exchange rate, are you managing it well? Clearly, in 2025, we have seen unprecedented management of the economy. Reserves have soared. You understand?
By what?
So this is
today we have
it's gone.
Yes, so I'll tell him.
Thank you. Yes, you're done by 2 minutes. You see, you finished 2 minutes. I'm giving you your 2 minutes now.
We were doing less than 1 month of import cover. Today we're doing 5 months.
Now he's mentioning that we should blame accounting losses.
Yes.
Meaning that they are not actual losses, but something that for accounting purposes.
You printed money.
For me, you are actually doing creative accounting. You see, if you look at the relation between the Gold Board and Bank of Ghana, where did they get the seed from? While Gold Board is now making profit, Bank of Ghana is making these losses. And today that you know this is accounting losses. When there was a loss of 9 billion, not 15 billion.
You were printing currency.
You said that this was criminally, the Bank of Ghana was criminally managed.
Yeah, because inflation was
but 15 billion is accounting loss, but 9 billion is due to criminally managed.
Again,
I emphasize with the NDC, they are like a typical student. When the assessment results is A, they say they've gotten A. But when it's F, they say they have been given F. Who has given you F? Listen, you have criminally managed it. If it was true yesterday, it's true today. You have criminally managed the bank because these are your ways. For me, this is a mark of incompetency. Look, whilst Bank of Ghana, yes, I agree with you that some of the roles that they play, it might be how much of the reason why they set up, how much have they pushed that particular thing. But nevertheless, over the year, we have always assessed them, whether they have made surpluses or they have incurred certain deficits or losses.
Right.
If we have moved from there, and you have used that metric in the past to assess them, why are we abandoning it?
Okay.
What we can only say is that it's down to incompetency and down to mismanagement, using their own metric when they were in opposition. And it is for the Ghanaians to assess. So blaming accounting losses, differences in inflation and as of exchange rate movement is neither here or there.
Thank you, Lawyer Isaac. Lawyer Bako Powers, I give you your 2 minutes. Yes, Mike.
I'm just scandalized because I hear that BOG was not created to make profit. An attempt to justify the 15.6 billion
accounting losses.
I mean, let's stop. This is disingenuous. This should not be a conversation we should dabble in. Was BOG created to make losses? If it was not created to make profit, was it created to make losses? We shouldn't be. You see, this is a body that is supposed to support general economic policy of the government, and this is how this is being managed. Imagine the kind of advice they'll be giving to the government. I have said from the beginning and from the word go that we must engage in honest conversation. Should we gloss over the losses of Bank of Ghana? No. If it is one-off, it's okay. But it shouldn't be repetitive. And we shouldn't be justifying it that
BOG was not created to make profit, because Act 612 did not create it as a profit-making venture. No, it was not. The Act 612 did not also create it to make losses. Let's stop this kind of conversation. It's disingenuous to the progress of this country. Aditi.
Your 2 minutes is up. Okay.
In my 2 minutes, I would want to associate
Thank you.
Comments of Honorable Alassane.
He's a public servant, Lawyer Isaac. He's a citizen.
I'll let's associate and then use the minutes to rather say.
Clearly identify himself.
Use like 1 seconds to rather say that the fight against illegal mining, we have come to a point where, as always, we need to begin to remove the politicization that often, paints the entire conversation, because across board it has become very clear that it's a national crisis, and for the fact that it's a national crisis, I think that all of us should begin to treat it devoid of the regular politicization. That notwithstanding, the Sector Minister, Honorable Amakofiboa, has the kind of political disposition, as we can all see from the operations of NIMOS and all the other interventions, that is necessary in dealing with the issue at hand. And so in the matter of time, you want me to finish earlier?
Yes.
Our forests become green and our waters surely become blue once again.
That's what Ghanaians want to hear. You're saying it, and they're hoping to see the action.
Absolutely.
Putting the horse to the cart. But gentlemen, thank you so much for doing this with us this Saturday. The one who just ended is Pakwesi Shandov, his press secretary to Ministry of Lands and Natural Resources. Isaac has been trying to give him a different title. I don't know why, but Isaac Ibrahim is member of MPP's communications team. Kwame Osidanso couldn't join us, but Austin Kwabna Bracco Powers, Esquire, private legal practitioner doing expert analysis as well, and lawyer Fatau Abdul Fattah Al-Hassan is MP Yendi. I didn't get it wrong this time. I am out to decide us. Have a lovely weekend. We're crossing over for a citizen engagement with the President John Dramani Mahama. So keep watching GTV and GBC News.
Current Agenda was brought to you by Bank of Africa, the African bank with global reach. Bank of Africa, as strong as a group, as close as a partner. And National Petroleum Authority, NPA, where customer care meets excellence.